short tale about an orange-faced buffoon who should be in a jail. When people say he's done something that goes beyond the pale, he will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he says he tells no lies and that he never jokes. Confronting with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. A modern Don Quixote, he hates the windmills, claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. But don't believe that story, it's really just a shill. He just did not want to see them wild golfing on Scottish hills. A hoax, he said it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, changing a storm path with black marker strokes. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. Casting mail-in ballots is something that he's done. Now he wants to ban them for each and every one. He claims it's for integrity in each election, but he won't believe the results unless it's him that's won. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, they'll fool you with distractions like real sugar in Cokes. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. He promised to release all the Epstein files that caused all the MAGA base to react with smiles. But how long has he put it off? It sure has been a while, and now he's calling this a hoax, protecting pedophiles. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he'll keep on gaslighting up until he croaks. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax.
Trump piled debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, they'd scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Go through crises, storms and war. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hire his kids to run DC. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, the numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, Fox News would say our day. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Love Kim Jong-un, he wrote love letters that take the guns first, lose those rights forever. Signed you spending bills with glee. Had Joe done that, it'd be tyranny. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they shout out today. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Kept secret files, countless untold. Said Putin's word was good as gold. Invited the Taliban to come to U.S. soil. If Joe had done that, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd want him to pay. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Double standards, loud and clear. Rules for Trump, but not for peers. What they call treason, if Joe's the name, is patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would
This just in. A sudden spike in logic levels across the city. Citizens report seeing a man with glasses and a podcast mic.
We go now.
Live to Liberal Dan.
Who you gonna call when Nazi writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, cause you know we got a plan. The right wing talking shit, but he ain't about to quit. He'll take his proton pack and zap your logic cause it's whack. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall.
It's being reported that Liberal Dan is setting up what appears to be some sort of straw man containment field.
Calling out your lies with his mic, he'll vaporize. Cross the streams in your dreams, bitch, you know that he's too wise. You're like Slimer talking crap, but you walked into his trap. Yo, it's more than entertainment, it's misinformation contained. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall. The Statue of Liberty, the writing you can see. So bring the huddled masses, it's a war of the classes. While Trump may think he's Vigo, Dan can cut through that ego. He's got the facts to prove him wrong, got that logic like Egon. Your logic is a ghost, cause you know this chick is toast. When you follow MTG, it's conspiracy, you'll see. There's no need to taser, he's got wit like Occam's razor. Liberal Dan cuts those lies with his Jewish-based laser.
It's unbelievable. Liberal Dan just used the literal dog whistle to lure a large group of internet trolls into what is being called a self-collapsing rhetoric singularity. In all my years of reporting, I've never seen anything like this.
So don't call to be a heckler, you ain't no Judge Rexler. He'll bust you like Scolery, cause your logic's looking hairy. Right-wing callers think they're cool, but they sounding just like Zool. You the dog, he the man, and yo, his name is Liberal Dan. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall. Liberal Dan, Liberal Dan, Liberal Dan.
Self-proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But Liberal Dan will see us flow. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk comes the left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. Unmasking hypocrisy, the truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. Cause Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you live from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, just come into the chat rooms, either on Twitch and on YouTube. To support the show, remember to like the video, share, subscribe, etc. Help the algorithm, because Al Gore needs more rhythm. You can also be patreon.com/LiberalDan to support the show that way. You can also go to Buy Me a Cider, go to buymecoffee.com/LiberalDanRadio, or go to liberaldan.com and click the Buy Me a Cider button, and either way will get you there as well, and you can support the show with a contribution, or you can buy bits over on Twitch like Ali Osher often does, and you can, if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free. It doesn't cost you anything. You can go ahead get subscriptions with your Amazon Prime account, or gift subscriptions over on Twitch. You can also go over to YouTube and become a Liberal Danimal over there, or gift memberships, do super chats, super stickers, etc. All the different ways. But of course, the way to best support the show, of course, the volume is low. Why wouldn't it be low? There you go. Let's turn it up a bit. That sounds better at this point. But obviously, again, help the algorithm, make long comments, respond to other people's comments, engage with people on YouTube, make sure you get some good conversations back and forth going. It's the best way to do it. There's also Liberal Dan Radio, pretty much almost all social media channels. If I'm not on a social media platform that you are on and you want to see me on there, let me know. Shoot me an email at liberaldanradio@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to try and set up an account there. But I'm on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we'll go to the Instagram thing in a second, because there is a new contest that I am trying to take part in, using the last song that you just listened to, the Liberal Dan Radio theme song, and we do actually have animation to it as well. It's not perfect, but it is pretty darn good. Hold on, I need to try and fix this to be able to show it fully. I don't know why it's not doing it that way. That's very weird. I probably want to be able to show this full screen, but it's not letting me do it, and I don't know why. We'll figure that out in a second. But anyway, maybe I'll just pull it up on the regular video. That'll probably be the best way to do it. Let's do it this way. Go to downloads. We'll bring that up here, and then we'll just be able to watch it locally on my screen there. And you'll have to, unfortunately, however you think about it, you'll have to hear the whatchamacallit. It's kind of weird that I don't like how they put that there or whatever. But anyway, the same software, or the same company that generates the small clips that upload to YouTube, that have helped me grow my monthly views from like 5,000 to over 80,000 every month. They've created a new thing that will create software. So I was able to have a contest going on right now, and if you have the most likes for the whatever, and if I have the link to the Instagram videos both pinned to both Twitch and YouTube, but if you get the most likes, or the top 10 most likes or whatever, you could potentially win some money for making the contribution. So yeah, I don't know. I don't like how they did that, but that's like, actually, it's flipping around to something else. Again, it's not perfect, because AI is not perfect. But anyway, here's the Liberal Dan Radio theme song animated.
A self-proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But liberal Dan will see us flow. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason, unmasking hypocrisy. The truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. 'Cause liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
And there you go. The Liberal Dan Radio theme song. Wait, the wrong page there. Liberal Dan Radio theme song, along with the added AI graphics, whatever. So again, it's not perfect, but again, the links to the Instagram video specifically are on the channel, pinned to both chats on Twitch and on YouTube. So click it. Smash that like button, share it all around. Again, there's some things that I would clean up if I could possibly clean it up. I don't know, and maybe I didn't do the paid membership yet because again, I don't know. They said that if you do it, if you enter the contest, you actually get like a $50 credit or something. I don't know. We'll see. So maybe I'll do that once I get that credit. But I thought it was pretty well done for what AI is at this point. So. Good to see you, Chucker John. Thank you. Thank you, Orville, for saying it's great. Jeff, damn, just looks like Dan. Maybe if I'm successful in losing a couple more pounds or whatever. But yeah, I didn't even put in make the guy look like Donald Trump. I didn't even mention MAGA in the description. All I did was say, make the guy with a round face and, comb over blonde hair. And AI knew that I wanted it to be Trump. So I was like, that's pretty freaking hysterical. So I won't put it on YouTube yet because I only want people to view it on Instagram because I want all the views and the likes and whatever to go specifically on the Instagram channel to make sure that, perhaps we could potentially get that ranked high enough to score in the top 10 or whatever. Will we do that? Probably not. But, I'm sure there are people out there trying to spend money to try and get it or whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to spend money. I'm not going to get fake likes. I just want to do it organically. But I was pretty impressed. I've been wanting to do that for a while now. And when they opened that up and they're like, we're going to make it a contest, I was like, hey, let's give it a shot. And it actually came out looking pretty darn good, if I may say so myself. So anyway, so what else? Whatchamacallit? I have a group on Facebook called What in the Unseasoned Name of Karen Is This Caucasity? I came up with the group name myself. And it has like 11,000 people in it. Like, I don't know why I can't convert that into this, but I do have a rule in there that's called Rule 6, which means every once in a while I might give you something to promote the podcast, and so I linked it in there as well, and well, we'll see how it goes. However, Roxanne hopes Chucker John gets big tips. Just the tip or the entire thing too?
Oh my.
I'm sorry. Wait, maybe that's a comment for Liberal Dan After Dark as well. Anyway, so thank you everybody for joining the show. We got a Trosh Certificate game, 250 kilo ohms, or Villaby, Alyosher, and the Mod Squad over on Twitch. We got the Mod Squad also on YouTube. James is here. Steve from across the pond. Bonnie, Christine, Josh, Jeff from just north of Uranus. If I miss you, I apologize. JD says the DOW is down to 49,000, so it's okay to condemn pedophiles again. We'll be talking about that in a second as well. Let's see. Did I say hello to Bonnie? If I did, well, hello Bonnie again. Who else? Roxanne. Who else? Big Hook is in the house. Let's see. China Molly, good to see you as well. I think I've pretty much Suzanne and Roxanne. Yes, got you both. So great to see everybody here. Thank you. Please remember we got 24 viewers and 21 likes, so make sure to smash that like button. I was wondering if I was thinking that maybe today could be the day that I get Henry up to the 50 followers on Twitch with his new Twitch account to try and get him to be monetized as well. He's doing really well on the average views per stream, which is great for him, but he's not quite yet at the 50 that he needs to be able to get to what he needs to be. So before we're going to try and get that. So maybe next time Hal raids, I'll be like, hey, all you sparklers, go follow this person, go follow this account as well, because it's my kid. So we will see. It's very weird when he's on, and I was listening to his stream earlier in the day and just had it on in the background as I was working, and all of a sudden I'm hearing him screaming from like down the hall because they're off of school this week because of Mardi Gras break, and then all of a sudden you then hear the scream again in the right ear. So it's interesting. Anyway, History of the World Part 1 is probably also one of my top favorite comedies, if not the. I mean, there are maybe other ones that are higher up there. My Cousin Vinny's up there is another one of my favorite comedic movies. Tropic Thunder is up there for one of the best comedic movies that I've loved. Just amazing how well it holds up, even despite the fact that some people see it and are like, I can't believe they made this. Well, because you don't understand what the point is that is being made there. But it's an amazing, amazing movie. And, the fact that, you'll have sometimes, I don't mock people for being woke, obviously, because I understand what woke means. I also, would call myself woke as well. But there are people who sometimes are like the overly woke, who will be like, they'll be talking about, like a comedian from back in the day, when I initially knew Hal Sparks from Comedy Central. Another comedian that would be airing on Comedy Central would make a joke about how his uncle would see conspiracy theories everywhere, like why the green olives in the jar and the black olives in the can. Like everything was a conspiracy. So there are some people who are the quote overly woke who see conspiracies everywhere, and they don't understand. Like they'll be on Twitter or whatever, and they'll be talking about how, oh, this is terrible what Robert Downey Jr. did in this movie, blah blah blah, and Black Twitter will just immediately jump on them and be like, no, we are not mad at him for doing this. He was brilliant with this. There's no reason for you to be mad for us when we're not mad about it ourselves. So, which kind of goes to my point when I say that what we should be talking about and defending and supporting the rights of marginalized and oppressed people, that includes listening to the marginalized and oppressed people, and when they say something is bad, you go and amplify their voices using your privilege. You don't try and come up with your own creative arguments that where you haven't vetted them. So if you're not in a marginalized and oppressed group and you're going to sit there and try and talk about something that you don't know anything about, maybe just ask people first before trying to make a big stink about it and understand what people are mad about and what people are not mad about. Because, like, just for my sake, for example, there are people who want to stand up and support the Jews, and then they do so in a way that doesn't support the Jews, because you're not listening to Jewish people, you're over-talking the Jewish people. And that's when people who have privilege need to sit down, shut up, and pay attention when they are talking about issues that don't pertain to them directly. So Ali Osher goes, YouTube and Twitch are difficult to keep making money unless you have around 50 to 3,000 viewers or bots and don't pay for them. Exactly. Well, there's that, but I mean, I'm making some money off of YouTube. I mean, I've averaged the last couple of months like $200, $300 a month, but most of that is from super chats and memberships and subscriptions, not from ad revenue. So anyway, woke means don't be an asshole, mostly used by right-wing assholes like Ron DeSantis. It's used by left-wingers either to reclaim it, which is okay, or disavow it out of cowardice or performally centering themselves, the allies, whatever. No, I embrace woke. I embrace the label of being woke because I understood what woke means. But I will also say that there are people who go overboard and try to be woke and they're not. So thank you more for more bits, Alyosha. Appreciate you. George did a game. Wow, I didn't have many opinions tonight. Must be the Monster Energy drink. Must be. See, being against Net and Bomb You and his sycophants doesn't make you an anti-Semite. Exactly. But not in and of itself, it doesn't make you an anti-Semite. However, there are people who don't know how to make those criticisms without being anti-Semitic. Like, people will reach in and do anti-Semitic tropes. Like, they'll bring up his Jewishness when his Jewishness isn't necessarily relevant. Yes, he's the head of the, quote, Jewish state, but there are plenty of other Jews who disagree with what he does, and as such, focusing on his Jewishness isn't necessarily as relevant to focusing on him being a horrible shit human being, right? So, Steve, you guys would explode if you watch British comedy television. Animal and child cruelty are sort of mainstays in just those shows I've seen. I mean, I love British humor. I mean, I'm a Monty Python fan. That's when they re-aired Monty Python and the Holy Grail in the movie theaters for the anniversary. I brought my kids to it. I might say I drug my kids to it because at the end of it, my oldest son was like, well, that was definitely a movie. And I was like, come on, that was a great movie. It's awesome. Exactly right, said Rob. Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. I refuse to call him Bibi. It's too cutesy. Bibi is something that's relatively new based on the amount of time that I've known of Netanyahu. To me, it's just far too cutesy for somebody who is a shit human being. I don't think shit human beings should be given cute little nicknames like Bibi. No. Netanyahu or Net and Bomb You or whatever else you want to call him, right? So, anyway. So yesterday I did talk a little bit about how I wanted to expand on one of the points I was making about Pam Bondi and her 50,000 stock markets at 50K. The Dow Jones is at 50K. Donald Trump is such a great president. The stock market's doing so wonderfully. Huzzah! But in reality, what good is how well the stock market is doing for the working class individual? There are lots of people who are part of the working class, blue collar folks who for some reason have been duped into supporting Trump instead of actually supporting the side that supports them, aka the working man, the working class people. So a lot of the times conservatives will bring up things like, 401ks. Oh, your 401k is doing great. Your 401k is doing wonderful. Your 401k is doing marvelous because the Dow's high, even though the Dow, maybe about 10%, 15% of the total equity value on a market cap basis is, 401ks and retirement funds, stuff like that, where the vast majority of the stock market or the stocks that are held are not necessarily in those employer-sponsored retirement funds themselves. And the Dow is only composed of 30 stocks. So it's not necessarily like something you could use like the S&P 500 or whatever. But still, that being said, the Dow Jones Industrial, it gives you a sort of a measure of how well stocks are doing. But still, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing well as a working class person, as a general member of society, of United States society. You are not necessarily doing great just because the stock market is doing great. About 60%, maybe 65%, somewhere in there, of U.S. adults say that they own stocks directly or indirectly through direct shares or mutual funds or retirement accounts. As of 2025 Gallup data. If you are making $100,000 a year or above, considered a high income, person, 87% of the people who make $100,000 a year over own stocks either directly or indirectly. If you make between $50,000 and $100,000 a year, that number shrinks to about 60 to 65% of those people who own stocks. If you make less than 50,000 a year, maybe 25 to 30% of those people have some sort of investment in the stock market. And overall of all incomes, 62%, whatever. But again, it's heavily weighted towards the people who are higher income, towards the wealthy. The top 10% of households hold roughly 87% of all stocks, be they direct or indirect ownership of those stocks, i.e. either they own a share of stock because they wanted to, buy, GameStop or whatever, or they own a mutual fund or have 401k or whatever. Lower income households hold much less overall equity even through their 401ks. High income investors are much more likely to participate in 401ks and have greater equity allocations. Those middle income people will participate at moderate rates. Lower income groups will have much less stock ownership. So 401k plans may very well significantly, affect, market ownership. The share of the Dow ownership is maybe about 10 to 50% of the total market cap. It's not a majority. And just to break down the numbers even more, again, 10% of owners from another source that I got, top 10% of owners, 90% plus own stocks, and also of the top 10% of owners, 90% plus of them are owning stocks, and also 90 to 93% of the total stock value comes from the top 10%. Households over 100,000, 84 to 87%, and then again as you go lower and lower and lower. So when you talk about how wonderful, how great the stock market is, the Dow's at 50,000 or now at 49 and change or whatever, you're talking about how the wealthy are benefiting. The wealthy benefits, and of course there's the conservative fiction that takes place that trickle-down economics somehow works, and that trickle-down economics, if you're making sure that the people who are wealthy have more money, it's going to trickle down here. No, stock, that's not how it works. When you get paid out, stocks, and especially like people like Elon Musk, who are compensated with shares in companies instead of actually compensated with income in and of itself, then that's driving up the numbers even more. So the idea that somehow us as Americans in general should be super happy and thrilled that the Dow Jones Industrial is reached over 50K is meaningless, because we're not helped by it. I mean, depending on what your income is, you might be helped by it a little bit more than other people, but the working class folks, the blue collar workers, who for some reason have it in their heads that Donald Trump is great for them. No, Donald Trump is great for the high equity people, for the people who making a shit ton of money, because you have the EPA that's trying to basically said we care more about profits now than about protecting people. Screw the people in Cancer Alley. They want businesses making decisions based off of how much profit they're going to make, and ignoring how much harm they will cause to individuals via their vile business practices. So that's happening under Trump now. You have these tariffs that are being passed on to the consumers, so that's disproportionately harming the working class individuals who have less income that they can use to actually absorb the increased tariff costs, where if you're a higher income earner, you might still be affected by some tariffs, but it's not going to be affected as much as the people who are lower income workers. So all of these things that are, the high stock market doesn't help you pay your higher grocery bills, right? So, and let's see. Anyway, so basically, higher income households dominate both stock ownership and participation in 401ks, owning a vast majority of the equity market value. Middle income households participate at modest rates through retirement plans, but their total share of the market value is much smaller. Lower income households have low stock market participation and low 401k involvement relative to the higher income groups. So we're going to sit here and we're going to, we can't just sit here and just allow the Pam Bondis of the world praise Donald Trump for having the high stock market, because that only helps him. That only helps her. That only helps Musk. That only helps Zuckerberg. That only helps Bezos. That only helps the people who are the super, super wealthy. And everybody else gets screwed, not just by the fact that they're not as, high participation rates in the stock market or whatever, but they're also getting screwed by all the other policies that are going to make you die more quickly, that are going to harm your health care coverage, that are going to, make you have to pay more for the basic goods that you need to survive. So that's the longer rant that I had planned, that I wanted to talk about yesterday, but I didn't do enough research, and I made sure to plug it in to the interwebs, to the intertubes, to make sure that we could have a better discussion about that tonight. Trusted every game. But Dan, the Penguins pay the tariffs. Yes, exactly. let's see. The classic trickle-down meme is the wealthy pissing on us peasants, which probably explains why Donald Trump likes it more because of the P-tape, right? And exactly, Alyosha, GOP hates the unions and benefits unless it's Trump's or their own. It must be okay. But they'll even though that they hate the unions, they will convince the unions that they like them and that they'll be for the working man because they'll be bringing back manufacturing to the country, and therefore you'll see more. And then during this first term, you saw steel manufacturing come back, but those steel workers who stayed loyal to their companies and who went through the lean years and then didn't get any, increased pay, increased benefits, increased bonuses, etc. for when the work came back to the States, then they were like, well, what the hell happened? And then they went ahead and voted for Trump again, and then they voted for Trump again, because it's just like Charlie Brown and Lucy in the football. They keep thinking that if Donald Trump holds that football out for them, that he might actually hold it for them, and they might actually get to kick the damn ball, when in reality, they don't get to participate at all. They're just useful idiots for his regime. Right, said Rob, isn't this natural for the progression of a capitalist system? Eventually everything is for sale, even the government, pretty much. Demands for healthcare because society is sick can positively drive the stock market again, because most countries that have healthcare systems have a healthcare system set up as a public good. We have healthcare as a public good in all these other countries, in Canada, across the European Union, in the United Kingdom, etc. It is set up as a public good. In the United States, it is set up as a way to funnel more money to shareholders. The people who run the healthcare industry in this country, run these healthcare companies to the benefit of their shareholders, or also to the benefit of the people who get huge salaries and bonuses for working for these. Because there's a huge healthcare giant here in New Orleans. I don't know how far beyond Louisiana the Ochsner healthcare system spreads out. I haven't looked into it that much, but these people are getting paid ridiculous amounts of money. And they operate Ochsner as if it was a for-profit industry, even though it's not for profit. But the savings for being a not-for-profit and for not getting taxed is not passed back to the consumers, to the people using the health insurance or the health care in Ochsner in and of itself. Those funds go to pay bonuses and also go to buy more buildings. Like they buy up hospitals, they buy up other clinics. They basically are trying to absorb as much as possible to make them larger, make their footprint larger and larger and larger, just like a for-profit business would, except they're not paying taxes. But I guess the people who run the companies, like the CEOs and the other executives, might be making a higher income, but they're making a higher income basically taking advantage of the loopholes that are set up to not require a not-for-profit business to run like a not-for-profit business. And if a hospital system wants to run like a private business, like a for-profit business, then it should be taxed like one. If you want to have the benefits of being not-for-profit, you should have to actually operate for the public good. That's what not-for-profit should exist for. The public good, not so that I can line my pockets as a CEO or some other healthcare executive. Which is, again, why more and more people hate capitalism, because they see how it is abused. There was one time when I was working as a waiter. And I was like, I would love to be able to make sort of a not-for-profit thing, because in New Orleans you had a lot of tourists that potentially come from countries that are, that don't have tipping as the custom, as the standard. So they might not be aware that here that we have certain customs when it comes to, what waiters get paid on an hourly basis and how they're supposed to get paid normally, which is you get tipped. So my idea was to create something that would be like the New Orleans tipped employees, and call it Note, and have a musical note, because New Orleans is a musical city or whatever. And because there wasn't a vast amount of resources online at that point, I actually went to the library to go check out books on how not-for-profits work, how to set up a not-for-profit. And one of the books that absolutely disgusted me was this book on how to make money with nonprofits. And I was like, that's not the point here. The point isn't, I'm not trying to become rich by creating a nonprofit. I'm trying to create a nonprofit because I want to be able to get money into it to be able to fund this educational purpose, to let the people know who are visiting our fair city that, hey, you need to consider that we have customs that are here that are different from your countries, where you may pay your waiters, your wait staff, your servers a higher amount of money than what we do, and as such you should be expected to understand that and follow these customs so that your servers are not getting stiffed when they, you know, serve you food and then you get hardly any money from serving that table. And I wasn't trying to make bank with it, so to speak. Like, Liberal Dan Radio has an LLC. I'm not trying to claim that this is a non-profit because I'm out here to educate people. Like, you know, I'm not trying to I'm sure I could. I'm sure I could create a not-for-profit and work it that way, but I don't want to be a shitty person, a shitty human being who tries to manipulate the system like that. Whereas WGSO, the local radio station that's down here that I often play clips from, that is a not-for-profit, and I don't know how well it does and how they're able to funnel money or whatever, but they operate as a not-for-profit, I guess to try and educate people or whatever, I don't know, but still. I trusted every game. Honestly, the whole tipping model is such total BS. Pay your damn employees a living wage or F off. Other than that, I have no opinion. And in reality, you know, the actual rule is that if servers do not make with their tips the prevailing minimum wage, they are by law required to be paid the prevailing minimum wage. So if you have a real shit week or whatever, your boss has to make up that amount of money. Technically. But who's going to fight that? How many restaurants out there during slow seasons say, oh, well, we're going to make sure you get paid the minimum wage? They don't. And then how many of the tipped employees are going to go and get an attorney to sue for the pittance that they're missing out on because they didn't follow the wage laws? They're not. And no attorney is going to take that without taking money up front, because there's no benefit in it unless you're getting like a class action lawsuit against a multi-state conglomerate. Like, you know, if it was like a large corporation that had businesses in every state, and it wasn't basically a franchise type of agreement or whatever, then yeah, you might be able to get an attorney to do that if you could prove that they were not paying the people the prevailing minimum wage if they weren't getting the tips that they were supposed to get. So it's not going to happen. But in reality, the minimum wage in and of itself is too low anyway. It should be at least 20, or they should at least push for it to be 20 so that you could at least get 15. Because that's one of the things that the Democrats fail to do when they negotiate things, is that they start at where they want to end up instead of starting at someplace further away than what they wanted to end up, so that they can make sure to land where they want to end up. Because people don't know how to negotiate well. But hey. 250 kilo. Our church is not for profit, technically, and churches can even have a little thing where you can pay your reverends and your priests or your clergy members a stipend that's not considered to be tax free for working for the church or whatever. But yeah, but even then, the churches are able to manipulate the system as non-for-profit organizations in order to have themselves, you know, so the church owns the jet, and the church owns the mansion, and the church owns this, and the church owns that, so that it's not viewed as something that you're getting paid. You're not getting the profit. But even if it was, you could still pay yourself a salary, and it's still, you're still not getting taxed as a for-profit organization, even though many churches also operate as as if they were for-profit, even though they're really not for-profits. Yeah, Joel Osteen's worth of $50 to $100 million, real man of God there, yes. According to Acts 4 and 5, Joel Osteen should be, should be unalived immediately from natural causes, because that's what happened to two people in Acts 4 and 5 of the Christian Bible. So, let's see. Orb Vermer says, see Trump and Glyphosate EO today. My friend died last year from Roundup. There's a class action suit paying about $72.5 billion, and it's legal and poisoning U.S. Have not seen that executive order yet. I will have to make sure to look up for that for Monday. Let me just take a note of that real quick so I can Trump EO. Anyway. So am I going mental, or is Joel showing as a fish on Dan's screen again? Is it just me? What? I don't know. Is who showing it? Oh, there is a fish. Yes, Steve from across the pond has a fish. Yeah, that's weird. That's really weird. Why is that happening? That's really what? Who was that? Yeah, Joel is showing up as a fish on the screen. That is weird. Why is it a rotating fish? That's so bizarre. I never noticed that. It doesn't work that way on YouTube or on Twitch, but it works that way on YouTube apparently. Let's see how it shows up when Aaron types Joel. See if it pops up. Oh, there you go. Yes, apparently if you type Joel on YouTube, Botrix treats it like a fish. Very weird. That is so weird. A fisher of men, yes. So they're wrong. I'm not crazy. I know. Oh, you might be crazy, but it's not. You're not crazy because of that. Anyway, so what else? It's on. I mean, is it on Twitch too? Oh wait, so it's a capital J on Twitch. 250 kilo ohm wrote Joel. Lowercase j doesn't do it. Uppercase J does do it. That's weird. I have to let's take a break about this and see. We have to Google this. Why does the word Joel show up as a fish on Botrix? Joel is an emote of a giant spinning fish. It's distracting and takes a lot of space, which is why the discerning spammer's choice. That's really weird. That's really freaking strange. So, is there a loaves one too, where you can do loaves and fishes? I don't think it's a failed emoji. It's just people typing Joel, but it has to be a capital J and a lowercase OEL. That's weird. That's so bizarre. Let's catch this over here. Let's put me in front. Hold on. There we go. So now, when the Opus Clips tries to tag me in or tries to grab me in there you go. So Joel shows up as a spitting fish. That is the weirdest thing. That is so bizarre. Oh God, now my chat is going to be filled with. Well, look, hey, every single time y'all put something in chat about trying to duplicate the fish thing, you're going to get more engagement points or whatever from that. So hey, look at that. There we go. I'm playing Billy Joel. It's going to come up Billy Fish. I have to re-nickname Billy Fish. I'd rather see Fish than Joel Osteen's name, to be honest. We have a new game on Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from Left, That's Right. How many fish can we get on a screen? A combo of Bible and MST3K host. Exactly, yes. Again, I still want to know if there's another one that comes up as loaves. So, yeah, we didn't start the fire. We didn't start the fishes. Anyway, that's so bizarre. That's so weird. As whatchamacallit would say. That's so weird. Anyway, so speaking of people acting fishy, former Prince Andrew arrested and held for hours on suspicion of misconduct over ties to Epstein. Now, I put something about how, they should be arresting him. It was one of the videos that posted as a short on YouTube, and one of the people who was responding was like, you can't do that. You can't arrest him because he was a member of the royal family. As somebody who's a British royal family, he would have diplomatic immunity for things done during his time as a royal, and as such, you wouldn't be able to arrest him for any crimes that were committed. Well, apparently, Prince Andrew was arrested and held, or the Andrew formerly known as Prince was arrested, held on hours of suspicion of misconduct over Epstein. The former The prince formerly known as Andrew, or the Andrew formerly known as Prince, was arrested and held for hours by British police Thursday on suspicion of misconduct in public office related to his links to Epstein, an extraordinary move in a country where authorities once sought to shield the royal family from embarrassment. It was the first time in nearly 4 centuries that a senior British royal was placed under arrest, and it underscored how deference to the monarchy has eroded in recent years. King Charles III, whose late mother lived by the motto "Never complain, never explain," took the unusual step of issuing a statement on the arrest, now known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course, the king said, as the process continues. It would not be right for me to comment further on this matter. The Thames Valley Police Force said Mountbatten Windsor was released Thursday evening after 11 hours after he was detained at his home in eastern England. He was photographed in a car leaving the police station near the Royal Sandringham Estate. Police said he was released under investigation, meaning he has neither been charged nor exonerated. The police force, which covers areas of west of London, including Mountbatten Windsor's former home, said Thursday the man in his 60s from Norfolk had been arrested and was in custody. Police did not identify the suspect, in line with standard procedures in Britain. Mountbatten Windsor, age 66, moved to the King's private estate in Norfolk after he was evicted from his longtime home near Windsor Castle earlier this month. Police previously said that they were assessing reports that he sent trade information to Epstein, a wealthy investor and a convicted sex offender, in 2010, when the former prince was Britain's special envoy for international trade. Correspondence between the two men was released by the Justice Department late last month, along with millions of pages of documents from the American investigation into Epstein. Following a thorough assessment, we have now opened an investigation into this allegation of misconduct in public office. Survivors push for more accountability. Police search Mountbatten Windsor's Sandringham home and his former residence at the Royal Lodge at Windsor. Earlier in the day, pictures circulated online that appear to show unmarked cars at a wood farm at Mountbatten Windsor's home, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So they're investigating it, so on and so forth. Of course, this has nothing to do with the picture that was shown during the congressional hearings with Pam Bondi. Donald Trump says the arrest was a shame and very sad. Of course he thinks the arrest is a shame, because Donald Trump's going to support pedophiles, and there's clear pictures that's evidence showing crimes that were done and that may very well have involved the person formerly known as Prince. I think it's so bad for the royal family. Who gives a shit about the royal family? You know, didn't we fight a war in 1776 to not have to worry about the royal family anymore? Sorry, Steve from across the pond. I mean, maybe y'all might still care about the royals, but we fought a war. We Americans fought a war and we won. We should not be showing any deference to any sort of royalty, right? Anyway, let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Documents also rocked British politics. Prime Minister Keir Starmer had to fight off questions about his judgment after papers revealed that Peter Mandelson, the man he appointed ambassador to the U.S., had a longer and closer relationship with Epstein than was previously disclosed. London's Metropolitan Police Service said that an investigation of allegations of misconduct in public office for Mandelson's correspondence with Epstein. Mandelson was fired as ambassador to the U.S. in September. The last royal arrest was in the 1640s. The last time a senior British royal was arrested was almost 400 years ago, during the reign of King Charles I, which saw growing power struggles between the Crown and Parliament. After the king attempted to arrest lawmakers in the House of Commons in 1642. Did I have to? I was literally about to say, was that part of Oliver Cromwell? And the only reason I know that is because of the Monty Python song, Oliver Cromwell, Lord Protectorate of England, alive in 1599, then died in 1658, September. Anyway, but the next sentence was, after the king attempted to arrest lawmakers in the House of Commons in 1642, hostilities erupted into English Civil War, which ended with victory for parliamentary forces of Oliver Cromwell. Charles I was arrested, tried, and convicted of high treason and beheaded in 1649. Which was, again, I guess, 9 years prior to Oliver Cromwell's death in 1658, September. Anyway, It's amazing what you learn by watching British comedy, right? Actually, I think I got a question right on a history test in high school because I got several questions potentially right on a world history exam on a history test in high school. I think it was maybe 10th or 11th grade or something like that. And the reason I got those questions right was simply because I could recite the Oliver Cromwell song, which is freaking hysterical. Anyway, the sex stuff isn't even the worst of it. Giving secrets to Russians is probably what will get the prince. And that's the sad thing, is that, yes, you're correct, is that the things that will get the people aren't the, harmful acts done to children, but the money. Because how dare you screw with the money? If you mess with rich people's money, they will come after you. But if you diddle kids and molest kids and rape kids, guess what? They're going to protect you as long as you're one of those rich and wealthy people as well, right? Because money protects you unless you're screwing with other people's money. So, Orville goes, I was out of the States for weeks. Glad to see your updates on YouTube. If anybody isn't convinced by now, they're defective. Exactly, Orville. Where'd you go, Orville? Where did you have the, were you vacationing, or was it something else, or whatever? Church Certificate Game goes, lock every single one of them up if they rape kids. F them, F their non-existent immunity. Exactly. That's only the documents Pam Bondi actually released and didn't redact. Also true. Horrible Histories is another good Brit show. What's the one that I watched? There's the one Kunk on Life and Kunk on Earth. I think it's on Netflix or whatever, or maybe I think it's Netflix. I could be wrong on that one, but that was a great show. And for some reason, they love Pump Up the Jam, or she loves Pump Up the Jam on that show. I would absolutely, if you haven't watched Kunk on Earth and Kunk on Life, go watch those because they're freaking hysterical, especially if you enjoy British type humor. I won't get into the church scenes. I don't necessarily want to spoil that joke, but they actually make the joke. There was a parody made about whatchamacallit, Downton Abbey, and I was sitting there, I was wondering if they were going to make the same joke that was made in the church scenes there, and yes, in fact, they did make the same joke. But again, I'm not going to ruin the joke. I want you to enjoy it. Yeah, shouldn't everyone? Technotronic, exactly. Pump up the jam, pump it up. Anyway, I don't want to get I probably won't get a copyright snag for that, but who knows? YouTube is stupid sometimes. So, watch the series Horrible Histories, Big Book of British Smiles. Everybody, if we decide to all flee to England or whatever because we don't like what's going on here in these United States of America, if it gets too bad, you never know. Maybe we'll have to learn ourselves how to appreciate British humor if you don't already do so, right? So, anyway. So let's talk about, let's see, we can talk about Shia LaBeouf briefly for a second. If you haven't heard, I know people who know the person who got into a fight with Shia LaBeouf during Mardi Gras. And he was arrested during Mardi Gras for an altercation that took place. And apparently, there's video of the altercation that shows Shia LaBeouf not just, getting into an altercation with somebody, but using, like, homophobic slurs when involved in said confrontation. So, Shia LaBeouf is apparently a larger piece of shit than you might have already thought that he is. And I don't know if he's been bonded out of prison. Because here's the thing that you might, if you ever come down for Mardi Gras, and if you get locked up before Mardi Gras Day or on Mardi Gras Day, you're going to be locked up at least into Wednesday, at least to Ash Wednesday. Because they don't process you. They just detain you and lock you up, and then you're stuck there. So you're not going to get to enjoy any other part of your vacation. So make sure that you're not going to get locked up, which is why I made sure when I confronted the guy that pushed over my wife, or tried to push over my wife, who was, escorting that one band from Mississippi, I made sure to keep a good, safe distance from his ass because I wasn't going to get involved in a fight because I didn't want to, have to deal with, getting locked up in jail for multiple days. So, hey, Cheryl with the Joel again. Look, I have no problem with putting the fishes on the screen because again, every time you type in a message on there, it's gonna frickin' help the algorithm. And as we all know, Al Gore needs more rhythm. And if you want an Al Gore Needs More Rhythm shirt or any of the other Liberal Den Radio t-shirts, go to the Liberal Den Radio store, which is linked to on all of the YouTube videos that are available. So, See, did I see the workout video of RFK and Kid Rock? I wish it has seared images into my eyes that nobody should have to see. That's just cringeworthy. Look, give RFK Jr. all the credit in the world for him being as in good shape as he is for his age. But that doesn't mean that he's somebody who should be listened to on issues of health, considering the fact that he admitted to snorting cocaine off of the toilet seats, and he goes swimming in raw sewage, and all the other bullshit that he talks about, his being anti-vax, his anti-Semitic comments about how the vaccine, the COVID vaccine was made, or the COVID virus was specifically made to not harm Jews as much as other people or whatever, because that just only goes to perpetuate long-held stereotypes that are held about Jews and, you know, what we do as Jewish people. So, hey, Squirrel Girl, thank you for the LOL. Welcome. What's up, Therendom? How much did I miss? I don't know. I've been on the air for about an hour, about 50 minutes of which is content. So the first 10 minutes is song. And then, of course, the next 3 minutes afterwards was me replaying the video. If you have not seen the Instagram video yet, click on the Instagram videos, which are pinned to the top of both chats on Twitch and YouTube. And you'll be able to help out the show by helping me get more likes. Share the shit out of that. I'm begging you. Share that, like it, get your friends to like it. See if we can help win this contest. I'd love to see, you know, all the other channels posting as well. I know Trucker John will, because Trucker John's awesome, and he absolutely shares stuff that I post on Facebook specifically. But I would love to see Hal play that as well. I'm surprised this hasn't happened sooner. Atrocious of a game. Imagine if Biden had snorted coke off of a toilet seat.
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, the screen fell play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
And I was this close from making that song, the full version of that song, into the into the generator as well. I don't know if I can make a second one or not with the free account, but I may very well have to do so, especially if I get the free if the $50 they give and I can actually use it towards, you know, making more videos like that. I may absolutely very well re-download the video for without the watermarks, and then also make that one as well, because that will be the next one I do if I do decide to do it. So that song again, no cocaine and no raw milk. And that's true too. You know, I understand people might like it raw, but
Oh my.
not your milk. Anyway, let's see. They're dumb. I've missed too many of these lately. I blame work. Well, look, you could always, you know, watch the replays of every show. I mean, it doesn't have the fun of participating in the live chats, but you can always leave your comments in the chat after you listen to it or whatever. But look, hey, you know, watch as much as you can, do whatever it is you can, and there's plenty of shorts to watch too. If you miss the longer form, there's plenty of the short content as well. Let's see. I was waiting to see if Orville answered where Orville went, but I don't see the responded yet. And some peppers. Wait, so what about some peppers? What? Did I look over the soundboard? I said I have looked it over. I haven't used it yet. Because I do have my own soundboard here that I'm using, but that soundboard does have a couple of sounds that I do want for the show that I haven't quite yet downloaded yet. So I may very well have to do that. So, but yeah, because it had several good ones that I wanted to use. I was playing around with it on my phone. I haven't tried it on the computer yet. So, let's see. Oh my God, it did convert Joel to a fish. It converted it there though. Let's see. Did you type Joel correctly? Let's see. Raw Joel. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's weird. Raw Joel doesn't turn into... It would be funny if Raw Joel turned into sushi. That would be hysterical. We're just all enjoying it. For those of you who haven't been watching since the beginning of the show or whatever, we're just enjoying the fact that Joel will sometimes convert to a fish on Botrix, which is just The weird thing. Easy E Network. Raise your hand if you think RFK Jr. and Kid Rock are gay. Look, if they are, I have no problem with it, generally speaking, although I do have a problem with people who, you know, who then support people who make it difficult for people who are. So look, if they want to be, you know, enjoying themselves in the bedroom together, more power to them. I hope they have fun. But they need to stop supporting politicians who then want to discriminate against gay people if they're going to be self-hating like that, right? Didn't Bowie go through a phase where he did cocaine, drank milk, and ate peppers? I'm not sure. That might be. I don't know. I think there's another story about, was it about Bowie and Mick Jagger, that where somebody ingested something? I don't know.
Oh my.
There's a whole bunch of info about it if you want to see. Yeah, I mean, I did search for it a little bit. That's why I found out why it was going on. But 2 men in a cup of milk, is that different from 2 girls, 1 cup? That should gets another.
Oh my.
Anyway, let's see. My stance is consistent, as Lady Gaga put it. No matter gay, straight, or bi, lesbian, transgender life, I'm on the right track. I was born this way, but don't be a dick and vote against human rights. Exactly. Cheryl, I love your new music video. It rocks. Thank you so much. Again, please make sure to smash that like button on it and also share it with your friends. Like, make sure that everybody that you know likes it as well. Help me win this contest. It would be great, because I've tried to win contests before and I've had limited help, but this is before I've had all of the wonderful people who are part of the Sparkler verse, who are also liberal Danimals, who have been helping make this show the great show that it is currently, and making it better each and every day. So 250 kilo Joel sticks. I don't know, only if you throw Joel against the wall, and if Joel sticks, then you know you have cooked Joel long enough, like pasta, right? Anyway, so James, I don't do reruns. It's just not the same without being able to chat with the great people attending. That's fair enough. Thank you, Orvillaby. Anyway, so let's talk about. There's 2 other things we can talk about. Let's first talk about. We'll go into a smaller thing. We'll switch to the other thing for a second. Donald Trump. Tax refunds this year. Oh yeah, I need to do it the Trump voice. I'm sorry. Tax let's actually put it over here. No. 1 minute. Oh, I'm trying to move things on the wrong window. That's what I'm trying to do. Tax refunds this year because of the great big beautiful bill. I thought, wasn't it the just big beautiful bill, not the great big beautiful bill? It's different than the great big beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day, like you hear in Carousel of Progress. Whereas if Donald Trump ran that, it would turn it into the Carousel of Regress. But let's continue. Are substantially greater than ever before. In some cases, estimates are that over 20% will be returned to the taxpayer. So let's go into that a little bit. In some cases, estimates are that over 20% will be returned. In some cases, not in many cases, not in most cases, not in all cases, but in some cases. Yeah, what cases are those, Donald Trump? Some cases that are over 20% are people who are the rich, the wealthy folks who you are helping. So when you get your tax refund, think about what a wonderful president you have. Yes, what a wonderful president we have, Donnie boy. So wonderful. Such a wonderful president that we have. Let's look into specifically what some of the people, I've shared this on my personal page, and let's see. Somebody says, my refund this year is a quarter of what it normally is. Somebody else says, I have to pay over $2,000. I'm pissed. I typically get a refund. So if that person did not change their withholding strategy, if that person did not do that, then that means that the great big beautiful bill did not help this individual. She jumped the tax bracket, didn't adjust my deductions, immediately changed once I saw what I owed. And some people may be getting more back, not I. This is somebody who is a conservative who says some people may be getting more back. But again, the clear wordage, the verbiage here is that estimates are, in some cases, over 20% will be returned. But again, here's the other thing. Here's maybe where I should have made this this week's Hypocrite of the Week. It's simply this, is that you have this example of, conservatives used to always talk about how when you overpay when it comes to your withholding, if you withhold too much, the conservatives would always tell you that it is a zero free interest loan to the federal government, and you should be trying to target to have as close to zero as possible, because that way you're keeping most of your money over the course of the year, and if you wanted to put it away somewhere else and just kind of stash it away and have it be your own refund, you could be earning interest on that money. Granted, interest rates aren't as great as they used to be, but still, but now many of those conservatives, with maybe the exception of libertarians have been actually pretty vocal anti-Trump, at least some of the major libertarian pages. There may be individual libertarians who are still MAGA libertarians, and I'm not counting those people in this conversation, of the people who are still saying you shouldn't over-withhold, you should make sure you withhold so that you are as close as possible to your tax liability. Look, I know that it's very well likely that my tax refund this year is going to be less money than what it was last year, because I did adjust my tax refund or my withholdings at my previous job last year downward, as downward as I could. Why? Because I got like a $4,000 refund last year, which meant I vastly over withheld. So this year I'll get a smaller refund, not because of anything that Donald Trump did, but because of the fact that my refund's going to be smaller because I withheld less, so that means I had more money to spend over the course of the year. Of course, things are going to change because one of the reasons that my taxable income will have gone down from the year before, even though I got a little bit of a raise between 2024 and 2025, my taxable income will still probably go down because the raise did not offset the hike in health insurance premiums that I would have to pay. It went from it went up $200 a month. So my taxable income is down because I was paying more in health insurance premiums. And I also maxed out my contributions to the 401k. So, that's another reason why my, perhaps, so that's going to have an adjustment. But that doesn't have anything to do with Donald Trump's bill. Is it possible that maybe some of my formulas have changed and as such it might benefit me a little bit? Sure. But the idea that these big refunds are all because of him basically is just him admitting or him saying that he thinks that it's a stimulus. I'm surprised he didn't say that it was tariffs that are helping you get higher income taxes. But of course, where's the tariff dividend? I thought we were getting that. I thought we were getting paid back money from the tariffs. That never happened. There's a lot of things that Donald Trump said that was going to happen that haven't happened yet because he's a big fat liar. Stealing our country, a crooked orange thief, as some song says, right? So, atrocious game. Big bullshit, budget busting, bleach bond, bad built, butch body bill. I think you've crossed your streams there. But yes, anyway, I understand. I see what you did there. The only libertarian I see on social media these days is Dave Smith, and he's an effing moron. I get in my feed, in my Facebook feed, especially on when I flip over to the Liberal Dan Radio page, I see several, I'll see conservative shit all the damn time, but I will see libertarian posts, and the libertarian posts have been critical of things like ICE policies. They want to disband ICE. They've been critical of the lack of action on the Epstein files. They've been critical about a whole lot of things. So I'll give much props and kudos to those people who are the libertarians who are maintaining themselves being that. Thank you, Jolie, for sending me the link to the Who is Joel. Anyway, so H&R Block, you have people BS. They screwed up taxes and over $6,000. They said too bad. Ooh, that's terrible. And that's who I've used because it's easier to just roll over from person to person. But there was the time where like H&R Block was trying to make me like 1 year, because you had the what was it? The you could take a 401k disbursement, and then you would get the money back over a couple of years or whatever, and you had to fill out some certain form. And so year one, H&R Block was like, okay, we're going to include this in our standard rates. And then year 2 and year 3, they said we're not doing it. And I basically had to manually file my taxes for 2 years because I was not going to pay H&R Block the amount of money that they wanted to pay, like $100 extra to process these things. I still paid the H&R Block to process most of my taxes, and then I went ahead and said, okay, I'm now going to calculate this extra form and then do the first 2 pages of the 1040 to make sure that it's accurate. And then it took me 6 months to get my 6 months. It took me 6 months to get my money back. That was fun. Let's see what. I say they cut U.S. aid, meals on wheels with MFFs. Exactly, and yeah, U.S. aid and all the money that's supposed to help people was cut. There are people on Facebook who are like sharing these. Oh, look at that! This is the lowest that the federal government employment has been in such a long time. And why is that a good thing? I mean, if you have too many people working for the federal government to do the job that it's supposed to do, then sure, it makes sense to reduce the size of the workforce to what you need to do those jobs. But it's just like regulations. Conservatives think that cutting regulation is always a good thing. That's not true. There are some regulations that are unnecessary. There are some regulations that are probably harmful, and those regulations should be cut. But there are other regulations that are absolutely needed, and you should not be cutting regulations simply because you like cutting regulations. You should be cutting regulations only if the regulations are unnecessary and or harmful. But to the conservatives, the only way regulation is harmful is if it stops rich people from becoming more wealthy. That's to them why regulation would be harmful. A lack of regulation is harmful when it causes, people like to die in Cancer Alley and allows the profit to be put over people's health. So, James, how the F some idiots still believe Trump lying about their financial status even though they see it's worse than it was before? Because they don't care. And they probably don't even know how to balance a checkbook. They probably don't even know how to do that. So if they don't know how to do that, then how are they going to be able to determine whether or not their grocery bills are larger or not? Or if they're getting less items for what they got, basically from things like shrinkflation or whatever. Yeah, Church the game. For every new regulation, we have to get rid of 2 existing ones because everything is super simple. Fuck the air and water. Exactly. Chad, good to see you, Chad. By the way, Chad, I actually had some of what you sent me the other day, and oh my goodness, amazing. I would love to have more of that. I mean, I have plenty still. I still have plenty left, but feel free to send me more. Chad goes, according to the IRS, the Treasury, and CBS News, the average increase this year is 11% on tax returns. But why? But why? Is it because of the big, beautiful bill? Supposedly the big, bodacious, brain rot bill? Or is it because of the fact? And again, according to the IRS and the Treasury, do we believe what the government is saying? The IRS and the Treasury are underneath the umbrella of the Donald Trump administration, and as such, why do we believe what they say? Same reason why I don't believe that border crossings are at 0 on the southern border, or illegal border crossings are at 0. I don't believe that either, because Donald Trump, if you can't see it, it doesn't exist.
If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. Object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, he must not exist.
And Trump doesn't see his taxes. I'm sure other people do Trump's taxes for him. Donald Trump doesn't understand how taxes work, I'm sure, because, again, he's paid other people. And as he said in his racist and anti-Semitic way, that he only likes the people with yarmulkes handling his money instead of the black people with his money, because he likes to perpetuate myths that black people are somehow not good at math and how Jewish people are good at money or whatever. Even though I'm not great with money, clearly, and I'm Jewish. There's nothing, again, it perpetuates he is a racist anti-Semite who perpetuates these long-held societal beliefs that harm people like black people and Jewish people. So I would doubt. And why don't we trust CBS News at this point? I mean, CBS News is becoming more and more unreliable because they're showing a willingness to cave to Donald Trump and the pressure from the Trump administration on things like, you know, firing Colbert. So, see, everyone will believe their tax returns when they get them, and time will prove them right or wrong. And look, I will gladly tell you how much I get back in taxes this year and compare it to last year. I will gladly share that when I actually end up doing it, because I haven't gotten around to doing it yet, and I need to because I've been, you know, busy with other things like finding a new job, and starting my new job and other things. So I will absolutely tell you if my refund went up or down, but then we will also go into why my refund went up or down, and I will find it highly unlikely that the vast majority of it is going to be because of the BBB or whatever. It's probably mostly going to be because of decisions I made or changes that were made to my, you know, healthcare costs and other costs that could bring, you know, the gross income down to a net income that's lower because you have to pay more pre-tax expenditures, etc. So Josh C. has had a phone call. Did Trump go away yet? I have not seen any notifications of any blood clot taking place, so I am sorry to say. Chad goes, I wait till the end because we always got to pay in, unfortunately. There was a year or two where I did have to pay, but there are other years where I've gotten money back, and I'm sure I'll get money back this year, but it's not going to go up by 20. I doubt it's going to go up by 20%, and I will do a deeper dive into it. I might throw it in ChatGPT and say, hey, why did my taxes go up? How much of my tax changes changed because of the one big beautiful bill? I thought when Donald Trump talked about one big beautiful bill, it was talking about Clinton and his alleged activities involved where he was down on his knees.
Oh my.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but again, don't support a side of politics if you're going to support doing things that are that. Yes, Cheryl Nelson, ELF DJT or FDT. Specifically, and if you want your own FDT, go to the Liberal Dan Radio store and you can get your own FDT as well. Jolie can put that link in the chat, I'm sure. Hey Laney, good to see you. Thank you for joining. And just a shout out to everybody who has joined in late, who hasn't seen the opportunity to watch the video yet. Pinned on both the Twitch and the YouTube channels are my new, the old theme song for the show, but with a whole video behind it. And it's entered into a contest, and the way to win the contest is by having lots and lots and lots and lots of likes. So try and help make that go viral, please, so that we can make sure to win this contest. And that actually, if I win the contest, I'll get a grand, which will be nice. And I might invest that grand right back into the show. So anyway, as Trump says,
it is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Let's see, new Hang Your Hat video out at 10 a.m. Central Time in the morning. Take a watch, like, and leave a comment. I catered it, and in the credits, it was just to say the ribs were great. So what you're saying is that you provided ribs for their pleasure?
Oh my.
Sorry. Trump is going to give Iran Gaza treatment. Donnie is looking at... Well, Iran... Thank you, Jolie. Iran has claimed that it had video... specifically having Trump doing thing with kiddos, and they say that if Trump attacks Iran, that they're going to release the videos. So we'll see if that bluff works or not. That'll be quite interesting. I'm saying if they had any morals or integrity, which the government of Iran, so they don't, but if they had any, they would release those videos outright to let everybody know what a shitbag human being Donald Trump really is, or how much more of a shitbag human being Donald Trump is than we already know that he is here on Liberal Dan Radio. Talk for the left, that's right. But yeah, so let's see, 9:15. So it's just after 9 o'clock. Again, Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the left, that's right. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays here at liberaldanradio.com or twitch.liberaldanradio.com. Either way, we'll get you there. You can support the show various different ways. Go to the Liberal Dan Radio store, which Jolie linked to in the chats. Go to liberaldan.com, click the Buy Me a Cider button, or go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio. You can make a one-time contribution there. You can become a patron, patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Again, either way gets you there. You can, you know, but the most important thing to do to support the show is to help the algorithm. Al Gore needs more rhythm. Go like, share, and specifically leave comments on videos. Interact with other people. I understand you might not want to interact with with people who are conservatives who are commenting on the videos, but you know, start your own little comment threads and get it going. And you know, you don't have to put nonsense verbiage in there, but just, you know, make a sentence or two and just help the algorithm out. It's gonna help the show out greatly. And as I've said before on the show, I did see a jump from, like, you know, 5,000 to 70 to 80,000 views a month because I've been airing all of those short little clips that I've been able to make with the Opus clip. However, thank you, Chad. Appreciate you for that. Let me go see if I can find that real quick. My son's, whatchamacallit. Let's go back to Twitch. Oh, I do not want that. This is the link to his Twitch. So if you haven't followed him on Twitch yet, that is his Twitch. He currently has 17 followers, so we need to get him up to 50. And thank you, Chad, for the $20 super chat. Appreciate you. So, anyway. So, blind me a coffee. Did you say blind me a coffee? Blind me a coffee, mate. Should be an app. Oh, blind me, mate. It'd be a coffee from down under. Would that be like a coffee enema, where you shove some coffee up your bum, and that would be called blind me a coffee? I don't know. Anyway, so let's see. I'd love to talk to some maggots. Hello, maggots. Thank you for boosting Dan with the algorithm. As we know, Al Gore needs more rhythm. By the way, how long would it take you to figure out Epstein was a pedo? And if your answer is anything less than 25 years, why did it take 25 years to figure that out? Good point. Very good point. Hey, copy and paste that into comments to conservatives on YouTube. That would be awesome. Let's see. How old is my son? I didn't know you had any kids. I have 2 kids, 13 and 17. He just turned 13 and was very excited to be able to. And I think he launched his Twitch channel yesterday and already has 17 followers. I mean, 2 of which are mine, because he was followed by Liberal Dan Radio and by nerdyday.com, and I know Aaron followed as well. Jolie may very well have followed as well. I know a bunch of y'all. I think he got 10 during the last stream, so I appreciate everybody who's already followed him. Thank you for doing so. And look, he may very well become monetized. He may make more money on Twitch than me, because, you know, I guess he probably plays games that are, you know, he plays games that are probably going to be more popular than maybe the games that I play. I don't know. Cockney or Aussie. That's the problem. Sometimes I muddle my accents up. I was going for Aussie, but, you know, who knows? So, yeah. Chad, didn't Epstein files reveal that Trump was one of the first people to narc him out to the feds? That's what the Trump administration claims, but there's also people who have seen other Epstein documents and claim that those documents that have not been released, and those documents, if they were released, that were redacted, completely contradict the statements that are being made by the Trump administration and the people who support Trump, that completely state the opposite of what is being claimed about Donald Trump narking him out to the feds or whatever. And even if he did narc him out to the feds, what was the timing of him doing that with the timing of him doing potentially other alleged activities? So, because if Trump, you know, abused, raped minors, hell, Luke Campbell from 2 Live Crew. I think one of the things that was stated from Luke Campbell from 2 Live Crew, you know, the guy that sang about popping the thing that, you know, Donald Trump likes to grab, the guy that was singing, hey, we want some, I'm not singing all the 2 Live Crew, the one that did, you know, me love you long time, me so whatever. Anyway, I'm not going into 2 Live Crew lyrics on a non-After Dark show. But that being said, he said that he had to leave Mar-a-Lago because the young women who were there were far too young, and he needed to get away from that. If fucking Luke Campbell from 2 Live Crew says that the activities going on at Mar-a-Lago with underage girls was, you know, too much for him, what does that say about Donald Trump and the people he was palling around with, right? Or Broomer, no, it's face down. Face down, not head down, but face down. That's the way he likes to. Anyway, yes, that was one of my first cassettes that I owned when I was like a young teenager. Was Two Live Crew, As Nasty as They Want to Be, and basically my mom took almost an approach to parenting like I do. It's like, look, I'll let you have it, but you're not allowed to share it with people who are also not allowed to listen to it. Like, you have to, the other people have to have permission to listen to it. It's kind of like with me and my youngest son and his potty mouth that he's had since like 8, or at least the last 5 years, and he's had a gigantic potty mouth. And if you watch his Twitch streams, I think he might have only done it once or twice. He might have slipped up once or twice, but he can curse like a sailor. But I'm like, as long as you don't do it in front of people that you can't do it in front of, like, don't do it in front of relatives who don't want to hear it. Don't do it at school. Don't do it at bowling. Don't do it, if fine. If you want to be on Fortnite and telling people to do a whole bunch of terrible crap or whatever, as long as you're not doing it in front of the people that it matters. If you can show that you have the maturity to censor yourself, then I'm not going to sit here and judge you for it. I'm not going to sit here and get you in trouble for it, for you saying all your wordy dirge that you like to say. So F typo, lady. Hilarious. What was the typo? Let's see, what was? I missed it out. Oh, wait, hold on. I missed it. Anyway. JD, be back, smoke break. Yeah, Epstein's wingman, exactly. Trump also said he kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago being a creepo, and that was also BS. Yeah, exactly, because Donald Trump even contradicted the claims that people trying to make that he kicked out Epstein for being a creep. He was mad at Epstein, or Maxwell specifically, supposedly, because she grabbed one of the people and hired her away, hired one of the young people working in his massage area and hired her away so that she would work for Epstein instead. That's why he was mad, because the Epstein crime family was poaching from the Trump crime family to enable Epstein and his ilk to harm more young women. Young people, we should say, because there probably were young men who were also harmed as well. Every time I scroll up, though, it's just like I scroll up and then I don't see it. So, oh well, not a big deal. Puff, puff, sip, sip. Yes. Is that kind of like the new version of Alka-Seltzer? Instead of plop, plop, fizz, fizz, pop, plop, pop, pop, sip, sip. Puff, puff, sip, sip, I should say. I can't believe a ruling that 3 Blue Crew was too close to 2 Live Crew. It's ridiculous. I guess good lawyers. I mean, attorneys can make a great argument, but then again, I always also like to make the argument that half of all attorneys are wrong, because typically you'll have, especially when you have a lawsuit, you'll have either the attorneys on the one side will win or the attorneys on the other side will win, and so these people make a legal argument, these people make another legal argument, and one of them's going to win and one of them's going to lose. So, granted, if an attorney, you can be correct half of the time and still keep your job, potentially. Or, which is better than a meteorologist, which can be wrong like 90% of the time and you can still keep your job. If I made as many mistakes as a meteorologist did, I would no longer have a job. Let's see. I guess good lawyers, or maybe it was the jury. I don't know. Maybe in the case of 2 Live Crew, it was a hung jury. Or does that deserve a... Alka-Seltzer wrote that ad to get people to use 2 tablets instead of 1. I don't know. They could have just simply looked at the Bible, right? Because Moses had 2 tablets as well, right? Anyway. See, Blue Salami. Dan, can you please open the lines? In a second, because I need to go over one other thing before I open up the phone lines. It's easier for me to cut the Opus clips if I save the phone lines till the end. But yes, we can open up the phone lines once I'm finished the last thing that I want to discuss, which might take a few minutes, but it is what it is. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Donald line.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. What's up, Bicycle Mike? Good to see you. Who else? Let's see. I think I don't know if I said Christine, hated Christine, but hello, Christine. Holy Joel. The obsession with the fishes. Anyway, so it has been reported, I'd seen several memes and several short videos about the Department of Homeland Security issuing a memo talking about the indefinite detainment of people who are here after a year, who are basically here is granted refugee status. So, and there are people who are making claims about it, and I want to, and I don't trust the fact checkers anymore, because, the fact checkers don't allow people to make arguments that, where you can read like points A, points B, and points C and say, hey, from those 3 points, we can reach logical conclusions D, E, and F. Because the fact checkers have now gotten to the point where if D, E, and F aren't said in A, B, and C, then you are not allowed to say D, E, and F, even if a rational human being could reach that conclusion based off of the facts at hand. So we're not going to trust the fact checkers on this. We're going to do our own fact checking here on Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, That's Right. And we're going to look at section 1159, adjustments of status of refugees, to see exactly what it says and then compare it to what is actually, let's just record this as well, just because I don't want to have this. I want to have this being a solo standalone video on top of it being on top of it also being one that gets clipped up. So anyway, section 1159, adjustment of the status of refugees, inspection and examination by the Department of Homeland Security. So we're reading this not from the memo that was given by the Department of Homeland Security in a court case that they're dealing with the detainment of refugees, I think in Minnesota. We are going to read the law first, then we're going to go over what is said specifically in the memo and how they're changing the policy, and we'll make our criticism there, and then we'll also look at some other sources and see what they say editorially. But we're going to go over what some Supreme Court precedents might have to say about this particular issue as well. And why I think they're pushing this issue, because there may very well not be a precedent to handle this particular case. So again, 1159, adjustment of status of refugees, inspection and examination by the Department of Homeland Security. Any alien who has been admitted to the United States under Section 1157 of this title, A, whose admission has not been terminated by the Secretary of Homeland Security or the Attorney General pursuant to such regulations as those people may prescribe. B, who has been physically present in the United States for at least 1 year. And C, who has not acquired permanent resident status yet, shall, at the end of such year period, return or be returned to the custody of Department of Homeland Security for inspection and examination. And those are two specific words that are vital here. Inspection and examination for admission to the United States as an immigrant in accordance with the provisions of Section 1225, 29, blah, 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 blah. Any alien who is found upon inspection and examination by an immigration officer pursuant to paragraph 1 or after a hearing before an immigration judge to be admissible, except as otherwise provided under subsection C, as an immigrant under this chapter at the time of the alien's inspection and examination shall, notwithstanding any other numerical limitation specified in this chapter, be regarded as lawfully admitted to the United States for permanent residence as of the date of the alien's arrival into the United States. Okay, plain English, what does that mean? Plain English basically means if you are here as a refugee under this act, and you are here for a calendar year, you shall, which is a requirement, either go forth to the Department of Homeland Security or whatever, or be brought before them and talk to an immigration officer, speak to a judge, and determine if it's determined that you are still able and capable of being in this country, then you are considered to be lawfully admitted to the United States for permanent residence. Basically, you're here legally as of the day you were brought in, your first day here as a refugee, not on the day of inspection, but the day you first came here as a refugee. Basically, it retroactively turns your status from refugee from day one to somebody who is here lawfully admitted for permanent residence. The requirements for adjustment, Part B of the law, the Secretary of Homeland Security and Attorney General, in the Secretary's or the Attorney General's discretion and under such regulations that the Secretary or the Attorney General may prescribe, may adjust the status of an alien lawfully admitted for permanent residence if you have applied for such adjustment, you have been physically present in the United States for at least a year after being granted asylum. So again, that's very important. So you can't apply prior to a year. You're granted asylum. It cannot happen until a year happens. Once a year happens, you shall be brought forth. There's interesting here about the windows. We'll talk about like time windows there and specifically what the laws say after that. Continues to be a refugee within the meaning of section 1101. So, or you have a spouse or child, or you're a child or a spouse of such a refugee, has not yet firmly resettled in any foreign country. So you can't come here, claim refugee status, and then go live somewhere else, and then say, oh, well, we want to be a lawful permanent residence, and then is admissible except as otherwise provided, blah blah blah. So you have to be admissible as somebody who could be a refugee or whatever, or somebody who could be a legal permanent resident. Upon approval of an application under the subsection, the Secretary of Homeland Security or the Attorney General shall establish a record of the alien's admission for lawful permanent residence, LPR, as of the date of 1 year before the date of the approval of the application. Which is, I guess, a little bit maybe different than what the previous section said, but still, coordination with section 1182, the provisions of paragraph 4, 5, and 7a of subsection 1182 of this title shall not be applicable to any alien seeking adjustment of status under the section, and the Secretary of Homeland Security or Attorney General may waive any other such provisions, yada, yada, yada. So section 1182, inadmissible aliens, health-related grounds, any alien who is determined in accordance with regulations to have a communicable disease, except as provided in some paragraph C, waiver authorized or exception from immunization requirement for adopted children 10 years of age or younger, for criminal grounds, if you're an alien convicted of or admits to have committed or admits to committing acts that constitute essential elements of a crime involving moral turpitude, violation of any law of regulation of a state, yada yada. So basically, if you are a criminal of those sort of grounds, of course, the administration will lie and tell you that prostitution and commercialized vice, certain aliens involved in serious criminal activity, it has to be serious, who have asserted immunity from prosecution, waiver authorized, yada yada yada. Anyway, so there's all the exceptions as to who may be exempted for this section 1159. All right, so basically, short end of that story again. If you're here for a year as a refugee, given asylum as a refugee, you are then required to either come forward or be brought forward. Now, does that law state what the time frame must be, how long you have to wait? No, it doesn't. So that is an interesting thing. So going to the memorandum that was given by the Department of Homeland Security about detention of refugees who have failed to adjust to lawful permanent resident status. This memorandum states the policy of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement regarding when and under what circumstances immigration officers may detain refugees who have failed to adjust to LPR, lawful permanent resident status, to the extent that any provision of this memorandum is or may appear inconsistent with memoranda or guidance this memorandum is controlling. USCIS and ICE have determined that prior policy decisions and operational guidance resulted in incomplete implementation of the requirements of Section 219 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, Section 1159, governing the conditional admission of refugees, yada, yada, yada. New policy: when a refugee is admitted to the United States, the admission is conditional and subject to a mandatory review after 1 year of physical presence in the United States. That is not new policy, that's what the law says. At 1 year after admission, the refugee must return or be returned to the Department of Homeland Security custody for inspection and examination for admission as an LPR. That is not necessarily what the law says or what the law requires. If the refugee does not voluntarily return, DHS will return the individual to custody, aka arrest and detain. For this purpose, DHS may maintain custody for the duration of the inspection and examination process. Again, this is why they're building their concentration camps, right? Because they're going to be filling up with these types of people. There's no requirement for detainment to be inspected. If they're going to inspect you for reauthorization or whatever, if they are going to do that, there's no requirement under the law that you be detained during these purposes. You can show up and you can say, hey, I'm here for my required, review to make sure that I can be here, as a legal permanent resident instead of me just being a refugee. There's no requirement that they detain you. And that's one of the problems that we have here. Section 3 of the memorandum. Prior policies. Past policies on this topic include a memorandum from Jane Shapiro, ICE Director of Detention and Removal Operations. People who have failed to adjust to lawful permanent resident status back in May of 2010, referred to as the Shapiro Memorandum. Under those policies, failure by a refugee to obtain LPR status by itself was not treated as a basis for removal and was not considered a proper basis for detention, which again, the law does not require removal if you haven't, shown up 365 calendar days afterwards, or maybe 366 calendar days if there happened to be a leap year. If an unadjusted refugee was arrested, DHS was required within 48 hours to either release the individual or initiate removal proceedings by issuing a notice to appear. If it became apparent earlier that no ground of inadmissibility or deportability applied, the individual was to be promptly released. And that makes sense, right? That's the old policy, was that if there's no reason to deport you, then they're not going to detain you. And then try and actually try and deport you. Which makes sense. If they don't have a reason to deport you, you shouldn't be detained for deportation. You should be allowed to go about your merry way, and you should be given the opportunity to go through the process of having yourself be examined for the purposes of the act. Section 4 of this memo, DHS rescinded the Shapiro memorandum in December of 2025. While ICE believes the December rescission is valid, the DHS has undertaken a fresh look at past policies and rescinds them anew. For the reasons stated below, we rescind the Shapiro memorandum and other policies that conflict with the policies stated in this memorandum because y'all are a bunch of racist fucks. Rationale for the change. There are many reasons that DHS is rescinding these policies, as explained below. The changes are designated to better enforce the statutory requirements. Now, better is a matter of opinion. They may feel that it will better allow you to enforce the statutory requirements, but do we here at Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from Left That's Right, believe that this is a better way to enforce the statutory requirements? No, we do not, and for the reasons that we'll see. So as refugees who have been present in the U.S. for at least a year, return or be returned to DHS custody for inspection and examination. I mean, when you got the refugee status, you were never in. They weren't necessarily in custody of DHS. They were just granted. They could be just granted the ability to come here as under asylum as a refugee, and that could be the end of it for the year. And they further reflect the public policy interest in thorough vetting of aliens admitted as refugees, including vetting for national security, public safety, and fraud-related issues. Again, if there's reasons to believe that there's a national security issue or public safety issue or fraud-related issue on individual cases, then that should be the case. But this administration likes to paint things with a broad brush. They like to solve problems with a hammer instead of with a scalpel. And that's one of the problems here with this memo, is that they are trying to basically paint everybody as the same when they're not. In making these changes, DHS considered any potential reliance interest, as explained more fully below. DHS believes that any perceived interests are strongly outweighed by the public policy reasons. No, your public policy and reasons are bullshit, and we'll go into that why. A statutory framework, section 209, blah, 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 establishes a mandatory post-admission vetting framework for refugees and provides DHS with the authority and responsibility to take refugees into custody for that purpose. No, it does not say that custody. Let's look at section 59. Return to the custody of the Department of Homeland Security for inspection, but it doesn't say that you have to be detained, right? It just says you return to the custody. It doesn't say that you have to be detained for it. So, refugee admission is expressly conditional and time limited. A refugee who has been physically present in the United States for at least 1 year, whose refugee status has not been terminated, who has not been adjusted to LPR status, shall at the end of such year return or be returned to the custody, blah, blah, blah. But again, does that mean that you can be detained for indefinite amount of time? No, that doesn't mean you can be detained for an indefinite amount of time. The 1-year inspection and examination requirement is the mechanism by which DHS determines whether the individual is admissible as an immigrant and should be adjusted to LPR status, or is removable and should be placed into immigration proceedings. Assessment of admissibility may result in a determination that the individual is not properly classified as a refugee. The individual established that he or she is a refugee through misrepresentation or fraud. If the determination is an individual does not meet the refugee definition at the time of admission, DHS may terminate the refugee status and place an alien into immigration proceedings. And in particular, those particular circumstances, you can absolutely do that. that. It doesn't mean you need to detain every single person who's here with a refugee status. You can bring them in to the custody, like you can be in police custody and then be released from police custody. It doesn't mean you have to be detained for an indefinite amount of time or any time certain, because there's nothing in the law that says what the time certain must be. Let's see, custody, arrest, and detention. DHS may arrest and detain a refugee who has lived in the U.S. for at least 1 year and not yet acquired LPR status. The provision requires the unadjusted refugees return or be returned to DHS custody. Again, they're going to repeat and they're going to beat that dead horse until, they kill more people. For inspection and examination for admission, refugees may be considered to have voluntarily returned to custody by submitting an application to adjust status and appearing at a scheduled interview or appointments pertaining to their adjustment of status application under INA 209. However, if a refugee does not voluntarily return at the end of 1 year mark, the statute provides the alien shall be returned to DHS custody. Again, and for how long, it doesn't say. And they're making the argument here that it can be indefinite, which is bullshit. This requires DHS to take the affirmative actions of locating, arresting, and taking the alien into custody. Custody, as used in INA, whatever, means detention. See Jennings versus Rodriguez, relying on ordinary English usage, blah, 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 providing for aliens released on an order of supervision to be returned to custody based on a violation of conditions. Again, custody could be, supervision or whatever. It doesn't mean you have to be put into one of these concentration camps. When in detention, such aliens are inspected and examined for admission to the United States as an immigrant. Thus, detention pursuant to INA 1159 is not indefinite, but is also not limited to merely 48 hours. Again, but they have made the point, wherever, that it said it may last for a reasonable length of time. But what is a reasonable length of time to this administration? Even in cases where the alien is arrested without a warrant, does not limit detention under INA to 48 hours. The plain language of this CFR reflects that the regulation applies to circumstances where the alien arrested without a warrant, and determination must be made as to the initiation of immigration proceedings. Arrest and detention under INA, however, is for the purpose of inspection and examination. But we don't believe you. We don't believe you that this is just for examination and inspection. We believe that you're doing this because you want to have mass deportations of people who were granted refugee status and don't want to have to go through the process. And you're just going to cause more fear and terror, which is going to cause more people to, want to flee the country, which is what your ultimate goal is. The goal here is not to actually follow the law. It's to stoke fear in the communities of immigrants, of people who have gotten refugee status, and as such, should be able to go through normal immigration proceedings to have themselves converted to legal permanent resident status. But you are going to invoke fear because, we now know that they have purchased like a warehouse in San Antonio. There are many warehouses that have been purchasased and are going to be converted into these, detention facilities, aka concentration camps. Croft's reference to 1225, blah, 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 expressly requires the inspection and examination at the 1 year mark be conducted in accordance with 1225, among other provisions. 1225, in turn, mandates detention of applicants for admission. By Croft referencing that, Congress linked the refugee 1 year inspection to the same detention, blah, 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 blah. Policy implications. Of course, this is an argument that's being made in court, so do we really believe and trust that they're interpreting the law correctly? These are the same people that were told by the Supreme Court of these United States that anybody who was detained need to be given the appropriate amount of time to file a writ of habeas corpus, and they've failed to do so in many, many cases. So we don't believe the intentions here. We don't believe that they're following the law. They're going to just make crap up as they go along. DHS must treat the 1 year mark as mandatory revetting for all refugees who have not adjusted to LPR status. Again, here's the thing. You can't do it before 1 year. You can't apply before 1 year. So let's say you let in 50,000 people with refugee status on a particular date. Let's say that date was January 1st, 2025. And now January 6th, 2025 comes along, or January 1st, 2026 comes along. What happens? All 5,000 of them have to go there at once? That doesn't make any freaking sense whatsoever. So they're going to use this to pick and choose, because I'm sure there are refugees from certain countries that they're going to be less worried about than refugees from other countries, and I'm sure the complexion of the skin and the languages in which those people speak are going to be used in those determinations as well, because we have a white supremacist administration who doesn't give a shit about, what the actual laws say, and doesn't give a crap about equal protection under the law that is guaranteed to every single person here in these United States and not just citizens. The one-year inspection is not discretionary, but when you act upon it is. It is a required step to determine whether refugees may remain in the United States. And of course, you could have the discretion. And probably the reason why they didn't give statutory requirements is the amount of days that you have to, that you have from that 1 year to actually go and actually do the application, or for the federal government to have to process you, because it allows a reasonable administration to, put levels of importance on, if there are people who are here who are refugee status who might seem to be as a bigger threat, then you can actually deal with those people who might have been here fraudulently and let the other people, come in at their own time. Consistent implementation of this framework is central to the maintaining of the integrity of the refugee program. Do we believe that they're going to consistently implement this? Do we believe that they give a shit about the integrity of the refugee program? I don't believe so, and you shouldn't believe so either. B, return to custody for inspection is critical to ensuring full and thorough vetting. Of course, how did full and thorough vetting take place when this administration supposedly vetted the individual who then ended up shooting 2 National Guards people in the U.S. Capitol? Specifically, they say thorough vetting is critical for following reasons: eligibility and fraud prevention, national security, public safety, compliance with laws and policies. Of course, if there are people who are just sitting here and just working as refugees and not doing anything harmful and not harming their neighbors and not doing anything wrong, are they going to lock those people up as well simply because they didn't go to their meeting on the 365th calendar day or the 366th calendar day after they were granted refugee status in this country? These critical national interests were significantly impeded by prior policies, blah, blah, blah. Specifically, USCIS fraud, detention, and national security found that of the 31,000 refugees admitted to the United States from Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Venezuela between 2021 and 2024, wonder why they picked those numbers, 10% had evidence of public security concerns, including gang membership. Again, do we believe those? Because this administration has used tattoos as a reason as somebody might be a gang member, and we don't believe that because we've shown when we were looking over that video that was aired previously that I got the copyright strike for or whatever, that they were not properly identifying people as having proper gang membership, and they actually deported people who were here legally and who weren't a problem, like, the gay hairdresser and makeup artist or whatever that got deported to CCOT. Over 42% had been insufficiently vetted to determine whether or not they presented a public safety concern. Again, I don't believe them when they say it was insufficiently vetted. What they claim is insufficient vetting doesn't necessarily mean it's actually insufficient vetting. Less than 47% could be conclusively found to not represent a public safety concern. What the hell is that about? Less than 47% could be conclusively found to not represent. So you have to prove that so guilty until proven innocent? That's not how we do things in this country there, bucko. We don't do things in this country that way. We're supposed to treat people as if they're innocent until proven guilty. If you can prove that somebody is a concern, then absolutely. And you actually make that argument in a court of law and it goes through, whatever, and if we believe that you are actually being proper and fair, then yeah, if somebody is a public safety concern, then deal with that individual's public safety concern. Don't say that just because you couldn't found that they weren't a public safety concern, that means that they are one. No. The only way you should treat somebody as a threat to public safety is if they can be proven to be a threat to public safety. Prove to me you didn't commit a crime. That's how stupid that is right there. And that's how this administration is, that's the mindset of this administration, or the lack of a mindset of this administration. And again, in light of these known failures, known failures is a stretch because, they were not necessarily known, and saying that somebody couldn't be found to not represent a public safety concern means that they're somehow untrustworthy is, again, a horrible and anti-American argument. Any perceived reliance interest outweighed by importance of public policy. DHS has carefully, considered whether any reliance interest may be affected by the new policy. DHS notes that the statute is clear. They must return to be returned. Refugees upon conditional admission are provided notice yada, yada, yada. DHS considered whether such refugees could rely on this misguided belief and thus failed to take steps to prepare to return to custody at a time necessary for DHS to conduct the required inspection. For example, they could fail to make arrangements with family members, employers, or legal representation, or they could mistakenly believe that any custody would be limited to 48 hours. In that case, refugees could potentially experience adverse consequences upon arrest and detention under this new policy, such as financial consequences of missing work, unmet household and family obligations, and delay in securing legal representation. And all of those are reasonable things to worry about, which is why you shouldn't be detaining people for more than 48 hours if they haven't shown themselves to be a threat. If you can prove that they're a threat, that somebody that needs to be detained for a longer amount of time than 48 hours, then prove it. And prove it in a court of law, or else go fuck yourselves, because you're just using this as an excuse to cause terror in these communities. And you're disrupting families, and you're causing people to have more harm. And the harm to society is definitely, big enough to be concerned, but they don't give a shit. The public policy interest should be to not have people detained for more than 48 hours if there's no reason to detain them for more than 48 hours. If somebody screws up and gets their timeline wrong, then you should be like, look, you were required to come here within 365 days of you being admitted to the United States as a refugee. Here's the steps you have to follow. Please follow these steps. Here's a timeline of what you now need to follow to be in compliance with our law. Thank you, you may go. That's all that should be needed to be done. You shouldn't even need to have them in there for 48 hours. You should sit them down, say, look, you failed, you missed your date. We're going to give you this checklist to have to follow. As long as you follow the checklist, you'll be fine. Go on your merry way. Go continue to support your family. Go continue to be a refugee. That's what should be done, but that was what would be done if you had a competent and non-racist, bigoted, xenophobic administration. Unfortunately, we do have a racist, bigoted, and xenophobic administration who concludes their memo with, this updated guidance establishes a clear department-wide policy to fully implement blah, blah, blah. Refugees who fail to comply the requirements by not filing for adjustment or not returning for inspection will be returned to DHS custody for the required inspection and examination. Individuals, upon inspection, found ineligible for admission as LPRs may be subject to removal from the United States. But again, the idea that you think you should be able to hold them for more than 48 hours is full of shit when you should be able to do it simply for, hours. And here's some of the answers here. Here's some of the Supreme Court precedents that could take place, that could potentially come into play here, or potentially might not come into play here for particular reasons. You have Zadvitas versus Davis. In that ruling, the court held that post-removal detention could not be indefinite after 6 months if removal is not significantly likely in reasonably foreseeable future. Continued detention becomes unconstitutional. The court literally read a reasonableness limitation into the statute to avoid constitutional problems. And then you also have Clark versus Martinez applied that same limitation from Zadvitas to individuals who are not admissible as citizens or inadmissible non-citizens. So the Supreme Court already closed the warehouse them forever door under 1231. A memo cannot reverse that. Only a court can. And pre-removal detention also has limits. Jennings versus Rodriguez said the statute does not automatically require bond hearings every 6 months. It did not bless indefinite detention. Constitutional challenges can remain, like AE habeas corpus petitions. Federal courts have repeatedly granted habeas relief where detention became unreasonably prolonged without meaningful review. And then, again, you have the right of habeas corpus. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 this past year in 2025 that a detainee can file in federal court a writ of habeas corpus. And the courts would probably ask in such cases, is removal reasonably foreseeable? Is there a statutory authority for detention? Is the detention excessive relative to its purpose? Is due process violated? But then again, we have already seen this administration fail to follow that Supreme Court ruling with many people who they've detained and or deported. Of course, the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution has a due process clause, And that applies to non-citizens, to the chagrin of many conservatives who want to believe that rights are only for citizens. Specifically says people. Of course, I understand conservatives don't treat non-citizens as people because they view them in a subhuman way. And for refugees who haven't applied yet for LPR, the refugee status under the law does not auto-expire. They are not automatically removable. There's no automatic detention authority triggered by the passage of time. And to detain them lawfully, government would first have to terminate the refugee status, initiate removal proceedings, and then place them under a specific detention statute. Now, the answer, the other thing that's a little kink in the works here is there's no Supreme Court case that directly answers the question, does the government's authority to detain refugees who entered lawfully and are here legally simply because they have not filed an adjustment for permanent resident? The Supreme Court has not decided squarely on that issue. If that person, whether or not such a person can be detained indefinitely or otherwise on that basis alone, aka can you be detained indefinitely or otherwise just because you entered lawfully as a refugee and are here legally, but you have not yet filed for adjustment as required under the law? This doesn't mean the government has no detention authority, but it means that the court hasn't issued a controlling decision specifically about refugees in lawful status who have not yet applied for a green card. Supreme Court, again, has not directly addressed a case where you have a lawful refugee present in the U.S. legally, not yet filed for adjustment, and has been detained solely for that failure. Since that hasn't been resolved by the court, this administration is probably going to think that, look, it hasn't been decided for the court yet, so we have a court that's typically friendly to us, even though they were not friendly to them with that 9-0 ruling that required habeas petitions. So the government probably thinks that they're in the clear, at least in the short term, to be able to start this process and to be able to detain as many people as possible in all of these new warehouses that they made. And because any challenges that are made under that law or in that particular circumstance, any challenges made under that point will have to make its way through the courts and will have to eventually go to the Supreme Court, who could then rule whether or not the government is acting in a way that is lawfully not. Now, one would hope that the courts would understand the importance, because this is a huge policy change, and that they would expedite the process of it going through the federal court system and perhaps getting expedited review under the Supreme Court, so that they can basically say you can or cannot do this under the law. And if they, one would hope that you would have at least 5 votes on the court who would go with the previous Supreme Court precedents and say, look, you can't do what you're trying to do. Anyway. So we are going to have to wait and see how this all plays out in court. But what we're seeing right now is this administration specifically making a change to policy. They're doing a bait and switch on these individuals. They're baiting and switching the policies of the people who were allowed into this country under a certain set of rules, and then they're changing the rules on them after the fact. They were granted refugee status under a certain set of rules, and now they're changing the rules on them. And that, in and of itself, is unfair, but that's what this administration does. There's been other examples that we've discussed here on Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, That's Right, where we have shown that this administration has done things like, giving the people humanitarian relief or humanitarian entry into the country, and then removing 500,000 people from that humanitarian parole. For not because of any reason, of any specific things that all 500,000 people had done, but because they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to have those people be considered here legally. So then you have the situation where they were allowed here legally, but then governmental action made them here against our laws. But then, is that really fair? Is that something that should be allowed to be done? That's also something else that the Supreme Court should be forced to look at, and should be forced to look at it in an expedited manner, but the federal government's not going to want it done in an expedited manner because they're going to want to be able to continue doing their bullshit. They're going to want to keep doing it over and over and over again. So we have a situation now where these people, again, all these refugees, and that's not even what this case is talking about. The humanitarian parole thing is just another example of this administration's baiting and switching of people. So all this administration is trying to do with these changes of policies is to make people terrified in their own communities and force them to act in a way that maybe they wouldn't have acted if you had a more reasonable administration, and then be able to get these people fast-tracked into these, I guess, detention camps that they're going to create, these concentration camps that they're created, and then have them be deported before the Supreme Court has the opportunity to make a ruling as to whether or not these long potential detentions that may very well happen as they're trying to process the eligibility of these people to convert from refugees to people who are lawful permanent residents. Because going through all those people is going to take a lot of time. And it's ridiculous if these individuals have not proved themselves to be a threat to anybody else. Again, these people should not be detained for any longer than they need to be. To me, it would be hours, not even days. It should be hours, long enough to give them instructions on how to continue, and if there's reasons to believe that the person is a danger to society, then by all means, detain them with court orders to say that here's the reasons why we're detaining this person over. Have it be checked by a court of law to make sure you're actually looking at everything properly. But this administration is not going to do that because this administration is not guided by lawfulness. It's guided by lawlessness. This administration is guided by bigotry, by xenophobia, by racism. So, again, we need to speak out about this as well. Just as I said the other day or yesterday on the show, where we need to actively speak out and do our due diligence and speaking out as much as possible against the lawless actions of ICE and criticize ICE to flood the zone there, we also need to be as outwardly outspoken about these changes here and call them out for what they really are. Because there's no reason for them to be massively detaining all of these folks simply because they missed a date. When the law specifically doesn't say, I'll give a window, it's like, well, after 1 year you have such and such time, because they were giving the administrations who were reasonable the ability to be able to say, okay, well, here's the people we're going to look at first, and then we'll worry about these other people later. The people who are just working and living in their neighborhoods and not causing harms or threats to anybody else. There's no reason to detain these people if they're not causing any threat. The reason that these laws should exist that allow for the detention of people is for the people that are threats. But again, as we saw from the verbiage of the memo, that to this administration, if you're not proven to not be a threat, you're a threat. And that's the logic that they will use to detain many more people that need to be detained. And that's why this administration is dangerous. That's why this administration is harmful, or at least one of the reasons why they're dangerous and harmful. And that's why we need to stand up and fight back against these people. Because they are going to use illogical arguments that people who have not been proven to be safe are somehow unsafe, instead of the American standard of unless you're proven to be unsafe, we treat you as if you're safe. Innocent until proven guilty is not something that just belongs to American citizens. It's something that belongs to every single person living here in this country. And if you reject that, you reject America and American ideals, or at least what the American ideals should be, and you should be goddamn ashamed of yourself for doing so. Anyway, that went longer than I expected. And I missed a whole bunch of stuff on there. I do appreciate. I had to fight laughter, Alyosha. I had to fight laughter when you had posted as nasty as the jury wants to be from Two Life Crew's album. Hilarious. And they also capped a number of immigration judges, which allows them to have people there longer. Yes, they're literally doing for-profit concentration camps LFG capitalism, fuck the Geo Group, Palantir while I'm at it. 250 Kilom says, I'm waiting for freedoms of speech to be retroactively removed. Hey, Fansan, good evening. Had a nice local Democratic Party fundraiser tonight, aiming to push out Republicans round on top. Good job, Fansan. Doing your part. Abenarix says, lies. Who's lying? The administration? Yes, absolutely. The administration is 100% lying. Absolutely, 100%. They are lying to you. Or Boomer. So are we sending 20 million back to their countries or housing them indefinitely? I guess it depends who's going to profit from it, right? So, let's see. What else did I miss? $60 million a day, cha-ching. Yeah, pretty much. Again, apparently there was some conversations about Leslie Nielsen. Mike and Jen's journey, blah, 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 this administration is racist. Well, I mean, if that's all you need, if that's what you need to, understand it, yes, this administration is absolutely racist 100%. Let's see. I'm sorry I missed off because of me doing that long-ass rant. I've missed a lot of their stuff. Squirrel Girl, love your show, Liberal Dan. Good night, everyone running on 3R Street. Hope you get a good night. Actually, let's go ahead and we will do ahead. We did promise that we will turn on the phone lines for a little bit beforehand. So if you do want to call into the show, you can dial 562-LIBDAN1, 562-LIBDAN1, 562-542-3261. And you can call in. I think, was it Blue Salami wanted to call in? So I guess Big Hook, let's give Blue Salami the ability to call in first before you do, if you still want the opportunity to call in, unless you were just asking for when I was going to open the phone lines because you might wanted to hear Big Hook call in. If that's the case, let us know in chat. But again, 562-LIBDAN1, 562-LIBDAN1, 562-542-3261. And remember, we do have the new thing where if you don't want to call in live, if you're a conservative or a liberal or a centrist or whatever, if you want to leave me like a minute voicemail message and have me respond to it on the air at a future show, I promise I won't share your phone number. I haven't shared the phone number of anybody else who's called in, whether or not I agree or disagree with them. I will not share that with anybody else, and I will, happily give you your opportunity. We'll make a little bit of it. We'll play one after another, and we'll respond to it accordingly. Again, so you can call in, and you might even be able to leave a text message. I think you can send a text message as well to 562-542-3261. I really wanted to see if Jeff, from just north of Uranus, if you would be able to send a text message. I know you can't, for some reason, your phone company doesn't allow you to call the number, but I'm wondering if you can send a text to the number. That would be interesting. And maybe if you send a text to the number, I could call your number back and see if I could actually get you on the air. We'll see. So... see, Tim Scott may have some second thoughts on which of the racist things Trump said were the worst. Yeah, when you said that's the most racist thing, I was like, that's interesting. So Tim Scott is admitting that there are other racist things that this president has done, yet he's still supporting them. Interesting, right? Hurry back, Aaron. Or actually, take your time, Aaron. Whatever it is you need to do, take care of whatever it is you need to take care of. So... the executive branch is responsible for the execution and enforcement of laws, not making or ignoring laws. Exactly. And the executive branch is also responsible for the execution and enforcement of laws, not the execution of people. So, Blue Salami, come on, man, what? What are you come on, man, to me? The phone lines are open. You can call in if you want. Hung jury, wait, man, are you that long? Wait. Aben Irex, I made the hung jury comment a long time ago. Are you just, man? You must be late on the show if you Jeff says call says not to connect, but can you text? That's what I'm asking you, Jeff. Can you text? Can you send that number a text message? I would like to see that, and maybe I could call you if you can send me a text message. If you do want me to call, I frankly just want to see if you can send a text message. So I want to see if your carrier for some reason completely blocking you, or for some reason it's just blocking you from sending a phone call. Because I can't imagine that I've blocked you in any way. Unless it's your, I mean, if your phone number is coming up as unknown, it should just go straight to the voicemail, because that's what I have the settings set up to do. Where if you call from an unknown number, I don't take it, because I don't want to have that case like the other guy who called in. There we go. There's somebody calling in. Hey, here you go. Hey, Christine, what's going on? Good to talk to you. How are you doing tonight?
I just wanted to break the cherry for the first of the night, let other people call in, but
break the
whoever
cherry,
can't call in, it seems like a them problem.
There you go. I mean, I do think Jeff is having an issue with his carrier specifically. I don't know why, but you know, I definitely want him to try and text message in. But yeah, feel free to always pop the cherry whenever you want to, Christine. Sorry.
We'll save that one for Liberal Dan After Dark.
Yes, absolutely. So, anyway, anything else you want to say, or just wanted to pop in and just do a quick hey before everyone else calls in?
Fuck Trump, fuck ICE, and fuck the GOP.
Amen. 100%. Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a great one.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, put the number. I actually remembered to put the line back on, to put the to put it back off, then put it back on for the call. So we got Christine calling in. Thank you, Christine, for popping my cherry. 562 lived in 1 562 542 3261. Wait, Jeff, you have no idea how to send a text or how to make jokes. Trying to get confused there. Just you know, to go into your messages and start typing in the numbers 562 542 3261. Send SMS or whatever. Does Jeff have a caller ID blocked number? I don't know. I don't know what the case is with Jeff. I don't want to give my regular phone number just over the air, because I don't want that number being spammed or whatever with other people with me giving the number. But you know, we'll see. But anyway, again, Blue Salami doesn't look like, if you're not going to call in, Big Hook, just call in. We'll probably want to leave it to about 5 minutes or so, because I don't want to run too late, because I want to do a couple things before I actually hit the hay, and I might actually have to wake up a little earlier for work tomorrow, because I might have some errands to run in the afternoon, midday, during lunch. Oh, there's a text message. Just seeing if it actually works. So, yes, it does work. Hello there. Let's see. So although that's from, let's see. Maybe that's not Jeff, because it's a 504 area code. That must be oh, there's Big Hook. So, hey, Big Hook, what's going on?
Oh, same old, same old. How about yourself? Is life, I don't know, returning to normal, if there is such a thing as normal in the Trump era?
Oh, wait, hold on a second. I do need to correct something. Jeff, it's not LibDan I, it's LibDan 1. It's the number 1, not the I. Maybe that's the problem. It's not LibDanny, it's LibDan 1. So
get Jolie to post the correct number without the...
She did. I mean, but even the one there, it's a LibDan and then a 1. So anyway, hey PDW, it's good to see you in the chat. Anyway, oh yeah, I figured once I saw the 504 area code, Chris, I figured it was you, Chris. Yeah. Anyway, so so what's going on? Anyway,
somebody else trying to call in, or
no? It was just Chris sent me a text message to the 562 LibDan 1. Just to make sure that, just to see if it worked right, and it does. So at least the text messaging does. So there you go. Anyway, so
okay, so people can now textually assault you.
Yeah, people can textually assault. It'd be charged with textual assault. But yeah, you can definitely send a text at this point, and that's another thing. If you want to send me a question or a comment or whatever, I will respond to text messages on the air as well. Well, I don't know how much of them I'll be able to keep or how much Google will maintain, but anyway. Oh, Jeff was just joking. He says he was doing the right number. Okay, so you do know how to joke. Haha.
Yeah, Jeff is one of those people. It's sort of funny. He seems to cover all the same areas that I do. He's oftentimes in the Stephanie Miller chat as well, early in the morning. You know, he seems to have the same interests and the same chat group affinity as I do. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see a bunch of people in various other places as well. It's nice to see people in other, other Danimals and other streams or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm just worried as to what's going to happen, because at this point, like, what's going to happen with social media eventually? Because this is the thing. I mean, we've shown that it's pretty harmful in general. I mean, there are some people that say, "Oh, it's being overhyped and whatnot," and Jonathan Haidt is making a big deal about stuff and whatnot, and it's like, I don't know. Some people are going to use it and abuse it, and others are going to, embrace it for the potentiality that it has. But that's the problem, is that so many of the social media platforms don't have really good enforcement in terms of what's out there. So, like, for example, here in Canada, you can't post news articles on Facebook, because Facebook says, "Oh, if you put that on there, then we become liable if somebody comes after us and wants copyright payments." And so Zuckerberg decided to block it all. So as a result, all you can do is comment. You can't actually post anything that's there.
Oh, I have had situations where I would take a screenshot of something of like a piece of legislation, and then I would link to where that legislation could be found, so you can actually read it and see that I wasn't making shit up. And I've had Facebook call that spam. Like, it blocked it for spam, and it's 100% bullshit. And it absolutely, it's just a corruption of this. I mean, there's reasons why these platforms have, they're legally allowed to, I guess, not be held liable for the actions of their users, specifically to prevent them from being able to make such arguments. And now they're going to actually try to make those arguments anyway, because they're just, full of shit. So,
well, it seems like the Europeans are doing a better job of reining in these giants than the U.S. and Canada. It seems. I think Canada is sort of had enough of it as well. I mean, I think we're going to basically follow the European model and do whatever, because I mean, at this point, the amount of damage that Zuckerberg has done is immeasurable. I mean, all the people whose blood he has on his hands by allowing certain things and then refusing to put moderators as well as other things there, as well as, and that's the thing. Oftentimes in these Asian countries, what he did was he said, "Oh, well, you can use Facebook for free," and it became the way to get around paying for data charges on your internet with whatever phone plan that you had, because Facebook was basically included for free, which meant that he had a captive market that he could then use and abuse, and people would basically use that as the platform by which they could either put out their political views as well as put out the harmful rhetoric that was necessary amongst the radicals that were wanting to play in the real world. I mean,
right.
And the thing that I worry about the most with the United States is that accountability doesn't mean much anymore. If you've got enough money, you can get away with anything. And I mean, the Epstein files basically prove that.
That was literally my words that I was going to say if you didn't say it. Was, and the Epstein files proves that. And when you have power and you can do silly shit as distractions to the Epstein files, you can do that as well. Like at 7:13 p.m. today, I guess my time, on Truth Social, thanks to my wife for sharing this to me, Donald Trump posted, "Based on tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing the government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life unidentified aerial phenomena, and unidentified flying objects, UFOs, and any other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. God bless America. So yes, that's what we need right now. We need all the information dumped about UFOs and UAPs or whatever else you want to call it. That's what Donald Trump is doing now. I guess that's, I guess he's fearing because maybe this whole going after
another squirrel.
The Andrew.
And you know what that is? That's also a rebuttal to the fact that Obama actually said, yes, they're real, but I've never seen any. That's all it is. It's him basically saying, I can one up Obama, as well as the fact that it's a squirrel distraction once again. It's just basically another, that's the thing. It's going to take him down. But the fact is, someone said that France has a copy of the full unredacted Epstein files, and they've got prosecutors that are going through it and are going to start taking names and putting some asses in jail, as well as review of people and their actions and whatnot. And that says more than anything is that we aren't pursuing these people, and in Europe they're actually doing what should be done, which is holding the rich to account for the crimes that they've committed because they think that they're better than other people, And I don't know what else to say. The fact that they took Andrew in, and basically what they said is that he sold secrets about financial opportunities via his access to Epstein, and that's what they're nailing him on, not necessarily the sex crimes, although whatever works to indict him and have some accountability. In the end, what they'll probably do is exile his ass to some other place, and he'll be never seen or heard from again, that sort of thing. But he's always been. I remember back in the 80s when there was the scandal that he was dating what's the Thai porn star, Koo Stark or something like that. Right. And so he's never been somebody with a sterling reputation whatsoever,
Right.
It's just now he's crossed a barrier that has some teeth in it that can't be ignored. And the British press there is just relentless. And that's the thing, they have to play the game with the British press, because otherwise the British press will bury them 100 feet into the ground,
or chase them into tunnels and end up killing them like Diana, right?
Yeah, that's just it, right? The whole thing is just ridiculous, right? But
very much so.
What can you do? What can you do with it? That's the problem. And so much of this, what I find really disgusting about the whole thing is so much of this falls along the lines of, let's say, Robert Maxwell, who was Ghislaine Maxwell's father, because he ran one of the big tabloids there in Britain. And then the other one is Murdoch, who always seems to skirt the thing and has money that he's willing to pay to basically put things that ruin people's lives all the time out there,
Right.
And that's just it, these guys, they already have more money than God, and as a result, they've been able to skirt the law and run away and whatnot. Here in Canada, you're not allowed to have Fox News on any of the cable networks or anything, because it's considered propaganda, hateful speech propaganda, and that's just it. We can recognize what it is. And Britain has things as well. The free speech has its limits there as well. You can't use hate speech.
Right.
And that's the thing. I don't know. Where do we fix the problem within America? I mean, everybody says free speech, but it only means I want free speech to take away your free speech. You know, I mean, that's where the dilemma comes in, because they say, oh, I can say all the hateful things I want, and so long as I say it in such a way that it can be disputed that I actually made a threat that somebody else acted upon to hurt somebody else, I can continue to do that. And it's like, that's just bullshit. That's bullshit of the highest order, where you're allowed to be, do things that are of harm to other people, and there's no basis for it. That's the worst part.
Right, like here,
I don't know.
Typically, we say the right of freedom of speech. You can't shout fire in a crowded theater, where you can't cause like direct harm to people. But and I mean, you can't slander and libel or whatever. But still, what is called slander and libel often is skewed based off of how much money your attorney has to be able to defend you. So there's all that. But not only that,
but then the other problem is that sorry, excuse me. You guys don't have a capable justice system that is able to deal with any of that stuff.
Nope.
The reason why most of the things are done with plea deals and people are forced to go to jail for crimes that are oftentimes made up by the cops, is because you have an incapable justice system, which basically is, it's not interested in justice. It's interested in whoever, and I mean, that's just it. If you can't afford a lawyer, what are you supposed to do? Because the ones that have the big money, they can hire lawyers who can go and say, oh, well, here's a constitutional restriction here, and here's another one, and we can hire private investigators to go out and find evidence contrary to what this said and what that said, as well as, and that's just it. And then you can do the Trump strategy, which is that you appeal and appeal and appeal, and you keep doing that till the other party basically runs out of money and gives up. I mean, where in the world is that justice?
Right.
I mean, there has to, I mean, that's just it. You guys live in a fucked up system that just doesn't work. And I mean, I've sent you articles before about the difference between the Canadian justice system and the U.S. justice system. And, ours works. They're not politically appointed. They're not allowed to be politically appointed. Everything has to be independent. They have to be found to be people with good judgment, of good character, of everything, because they're held to a higher standard than so many of the schmucks that you guys have there in your system. Oh, well, if it's a Trump judge, I mean, we'll get whatever we want. I mean, and, I hate to say it, but your state is one of the worst.
Right.
Oh, my God. Everything gets sent down to Louisiana. That's where they keep throwing them, or they send them to Texas. Oh, well, they're all hanging judges over there. I mean, it's like, fuck. How do you get away with transporting people across state lines and not holding them in the jurisdiction that you're going to charge them with?
How
do you do that?
That is highly suspicious and a highly questionable thing that shouldn't be allowed to have happen. I mean, there should be rare circumstances. I mean, you're supposed to be judged by a jury of your peers, right? If you're actually charged with a crime, you should be able to be, there should be only limited circumstances where a change of venue is allowed, and typically those limited circumstances should only be to the benefit of the defense and not the prosecution. And the prosecution shouldn't get to shop for judges that are going to be more likely to rule in their favor. They should have to go to specifically where the alleged crimes took place. And the fact that it doesn't, The fact that they were able to do this is one of the many flaws, I should say, one of the many major flaws with our judicial system altogether. So,
Well,
anyway,
I mean, you want to talk about flaws? Look at the Eileen Cannon situation. How the hell did she get so many of those cases, and then was able to basically give Trump another get out of jail free card,
right.
and then to mess with, as well as delay the second part of Jack Smith's investigation, and the results of that, as to what he about all the dirt that he found upon Donald Trump and all the things that he did wrong, whether it be the stolen documents, whether it be his claims of election fraud, as well as all the other things that he's up to his eyeballs in. You know what I mean? That's just it. Like, I just don't know where. Yeah, no worries.
No problem. Yeah,
I go on and on.
That's fine. I just wanted to. I want to answer something with P-Dubs real quick, and then I want to start doing a little bit of work on post-show clip editing before we head to bed. So we'll talk again Monday, I'm sure. Anything else you want?
Yeah, no worries. I not really. I mean, I feel for you guys. Unfortunately, I can't do anything for you. All I can do is point out the error of your ways, which to me, I think most people already know, but unfortunately is not politically expedient to be fixed, because too many people who have money are benefiting from the system, which fucks the rest of you guys.
Yep.
And I'll just leave it at that, I guess. That's all I can do.
All right, man. Well,
anyway, thanks, Dan.
Appreciate you, and you have appreciate talking to you as well. Have a great one.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
All right, and everybody, that was Big Hook, and we're gonna shut down the phone lines at this point. P-Dubs did ask a question in the chat. What would happen if we decided to just not pay taxes, and just say we're not going to file our federal taxes, and say that we're not supporting fascism? Well, honestly, what I probably would think is if you're not making enough money to get away with not paying your taxes, because this administration has shown that they're more than willing to just turn their heads and look the other way when the people he supports, or the people who support him, aren't paying their taxes. But they would probably come after you specifically, especially if they could find a reason to link you and you're opposing this administration. If they basically were like, hey, you're not paying your taxes because you're anti-Trump, they'd probably find some reason to come after you and lock you up for some sort of tax evasion, tax fraud, whatever it is that they would want to claim. So they would use the full power of the federal government to come after you and squash that. And quite hypocritically so, because the reason that they complained about the adding of new IRS employees, which weren't just like investigatory agents. Some of it were like people working in IT, people working behind the scenes, not people going out there as agents with guns coming after you to try and get you to pay your taxes or whatever. And they wanted those people to go after the wealthy people, but the idiots believed the Republicans when they said, oh, they're going to have these people come after mom, pa, who might have not filed the taxes properly over $50, because the basis of conservatism, as we all know, is just falsehoods. So they would probably just come after us and lock us up, and probably trump up some additional charges, no pun intended, to make sure that you get punished for not paying your taxes because you oppose this administration. So that's probably what would happen. I guess one could argue that maybe it'd be harder for them to do so simply because of the fact that they've cut the people who do the work. That being said, they'd probably hyper-focus it on the people who Trump would consider his enemies, which are you and me and all the other people who are moral and righteous people here in these United States, and use less resources to go after the wealthy billionaires who are going to avoid paying their fair share of the taxes. And while somebody else in the chat over there, I think it was Trisha, who said, F that, everybody who molested kids should be prosecuted. I 100% agree with you that they absolutely should be prosecuted for those crimes. But, at this point, I will take what I can get, at least from the get-go. If you can get them on the financial crimes, get them on the financial crimes, and then get them on the other crimes afterwards. But if you can lock them up for something, lock them up for something, as long as they're valid crimes committed and not trumped up manufactured bullshit like this administration is trying to do with the people who are here as refugees now at this point. Anyway, Anyway, yeah, Steve goes, they're building those warehouses, don't give them an excuse. Exactly. And they're not Scottish warehouses, and
if it's no Scottish, it's crap.
Anyway, so thank you all very much for watching. Appreciate y'all. We're not going to hit a full 3 hours, even though, you know, it might happen, you know, sometimes. We do want to hit the hay a little earlier because of work and everything else tomorrow. But thank everybody for watching again. Just one more reminder, if on your way out, if you haven't already done so, click the pinned links to the Instagram videos that I share. The one with my video, the one with my animated version of the theme song. Click it, hit the like button, share it with other people, encourage your friends to like it. Say, we're trying to get Liberal Dan to win this contest. I can't do it without your help. So can't do any of this with all of y'all's help, and I appreciate all the help you're doing. This is one additional thing that I'm asking y'all to do for this one particular video, just to make sure it gets out there, it gets shared, and it gets as many likes as possible. So until Monday, unless something big happens over the weekend, until maybe we find the alien proof, right? Until Monday, thank you very much. We will be back 8 p.m. Central, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, have a good one. Peace.
Trump pile debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, they'd scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Go through crises, storms and war. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hire his kids to run D.C. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, the numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, Fox News would say our day. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Love Kim Jong-un, he wrote love letters that take the guns first, lose those rights forever. Signed you spending bills with glee. Had Joe done that, it'd be tyranny. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, they shout out today. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Kept secret files, countless untold. Said Putin's word was good as gold. Invited the Taliban to come to U.S. soil. If Joe had done that, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, the numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd want him to pay. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Double standards loud and clear. Rules for Trump, but not for peers. What they call treason, if Joe's the name, is patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd shout no way. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. They wrote it in the laws, ink still bleeds. Treating women like soil, just planting seeds. She's gone, brain dead, not even awake. But the state's got a claim, gonna plant its stake. Say it's God's will, say it's life they protect. But they ain't the ones feeling pain or neglect. From Texas to Georgia, they set the trap. Rights rolled back while they smile and clap. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey, MAGA too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. This ain't pro-life, it's control and shame. They don't care if she's gone, just playing a game. Keep her hooked to machines, cold and still, just a vessel to them, not a human with will. No consent, no voice, no chance to resist. Just laws in place, written with a clenched fist. Hospitals scared, judges playing God. Bodies ain't temples, just stay on pods. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey, mega fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Bands in the dark, they don't care who it kills. Sacking courts while they strip out all of your wills. But we'll fight back, march loud, burn bright. Cause this ain't the end, it's the start of the fight. Gilead's here, ain't no grace. And those leopards are coming to eat your face. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator.
Obama and Bush's pictures got hidden, obscuring the past, history rewritten. Hung in a hallway where no tour can see, confirming is an ending fragility. If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. Object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, he must not exist. The testing was the line that he said. Hundreds of thousands needlessly dead. Now HHS is run by brainworm quack, hiding the truth behind his back. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. An administration run by narcissists. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Documents stacked floor to the wall. Top secret folders in a bathroom stall. Charges were pressed, but the case was dropped. A corrupt judicial system he can co-opt. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Else includes the Epstein list. He'll swear it's fake news, a liberal twist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Encampments downtown, tents lining the street. Invisible people that power won't need. Hide them away so the cameras can't find it. Proof of a system that's cold and unkind. A payout in secret, an NDA sign, an illegal bribe. Michael Cohen fine. Trump got fined too over his gag order, but she didn't gag, cause he was much shorter. It must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. We can't let him win, we must resist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist.